Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and welcome to today's compilation video. I want to get that out there straight away just in case you don't like the compilations, totally up to you. But a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories. Your love, your support, your time always means the absolute world to me. And let's crack on with today's stories. Much love, guys. Now today's first story comes from the True Off My Chest subreddit from Constant Nebula 1982. And says, my soon-to-be ex-husband humiliated me on our wedding day and met his karma instantly. It had been 2 days since my wedding day. I'd already been with him for 4 years, 1 year of which I was engaged. It all started a few months earlier when I noticed my husband Jake watching prank videos. Oh dear. Among other things, these videos showed embarrassing photos of the bride being played on a projector in front of the whole room, or the bride's face being smashed into the cake. I told him straight away that I didn't want anything like that at our wedding. He just laughed and said that he wasn't planning anything like that. I thought that was the end of it, but I kept catching him making strange arrangements with his friends. He suddenly wanted to choose the wedding photographer and the cake. I thought nothing of it and was just glad that he was helping me with the wedding preparations. Nevertheless, I reminded him the day before that if he did something like that, I would break up with him immediately. When the day of the wedding came, everything went smoothly until the ceremony. Until the moment came when the cake was about to be cut. The whole room watched as I made the first cut and the photographer stood in front of us with camera in hand. Suddenly, I felt a hand on the back of my head, pushing me face first into the cake. Not only my makeup, but the whole wedding dress was ruined and the whole room laughed. My husband, the loudest. At that moment, the photographer took the photo and Jake said that this was now our wedding photo. I turned around, slapped him in the face and ran out of the room in tears. Thank God, karma didn't take long to arrive and it came in the form of his own brother. I ran to the toilet and started crying when I suddenly heard loud shouting from the hall. It was his brother Frank. I could barely understand what he was saying, and when I left the toilet, he was waiting for me. He told me that Jake had something to tell me. Jake was shaking and apologized without looking me in the eye. Frank told him to look me in the eye and apologize again. Even I was a bit scared of Frank at that moment, because I had always thought of him as a kind and gentle man. I had never seen him angry before. Jake apologized again, and then Frank led us back into the hall, which was suddenly very quiet, and most of our families looked down at the floor, a little embarrassed. The festivities were cut short, and I was taken home by Frank because I was too angry with my husband, and I didn't want to see him. During the ride, Frank apologized for blowing up like that. He explained that my husband was horrible, even back when he was a brother, and used every special occasion to humiliate Frank. When it was Frank's birthday, my husband would throw his cake at him and break his presents. But back then, their parents always brushed it off by saying that's just how brothers behave. So he had to endure every humiliation. But when he saw my husband bury my face in the cake, he was fed up because he realized that my husband was just a bad person who got his satisfaction from humiliating others. I asked Frank if he thought it would be an exaggeration if I separated from my husband, and he said no. Because according to him, I deserved better, and he didn't care how his brother felt about it because he had brought it on himself. Then he told me that if I needed help collecting my things, he would help me and gave me his number. And I decided to separate from him and file for divorce and inform Jake and my family about it. Jake just told me not to do that because it was just a harmless prank. I was spammed by both his family and mine that it would be ridiculous to end our marriage over this, but I see it differently. If he does something like this to me despite multiple requests not to do it, even after promising he wouldn't do it, then I can't trust him. No matter what he promises me, I have to assume that the opposite can and will happen, and that he doesn't care how I feel about his decisions. This situation can be projected onto so many much worse situations where it'd be important for me to be able to trust him. His brother Frank seems to be the only one who supports me now, and I will go through with the divorce. Call me humorless, call me what you want, but I have given my reasons. I feel in some ways that this is a pretty simple one in that you told him time and time again that you told him that if you do this, the relationship is over, and he chose to do it. The biggest thing in a relationship is trust. He destroyed that by what he did. But Vegetable Cod says, OP, I'm sorry this has happened, but so proud of you. You warned him multiple times and he felt it was more important to get last than be a trustworthy partner. I don't know why people think humiliation is a prank. If you have to explain that it was a joke, it's not funny. Best of luck. Yes, let Frank know he's a good man and we appreciate him having your back. 101010 Tree says he lied and was disrespectful. Obviously not the things you want in a marriage. Divorcing him will now save you from dealing with more boundaries being broken and the heartache. You deserve better. Another commenter says you told him what the consequences would be. Now he gets to live with that choice. I don't think you have to divorce. If you don't file the marriage certificate within a certain amount of time, you aren't legally married. Just make sure he doesn't file it on your behalf. Susie says, I'm in the UK and don't think we do the smash the cake in the face prank here. If we do, it's a new thing that's come over from the US. I'm certainly not aware of anyone I know going to such a wedding. It's beyond me why anyone thinks it's funny. I think it's very cruel, rude, and a waste of a lot of money when you factor in the cost of cake, clothing, hair, makeup, etc. I'd divorce him too. Oh, I just had a little flashback of a video I saw online once of there's this couple that just got married, they're just cutting their cake at the front of everyone, you know, tables all around, everyone's watching, taking photos and stuff, and then this guy who's absolutely pissed up, drunk, comes up and he just like grabs a big chunk of the cake and starts trying to, I can't remember if he's trying to shove it in their face or chuck it at them, and the groom's just like, what the hell, and then floors him. It's like, it's a wild one. But OP did update their post and said, many of you asked for an update, so here it is. Read the original post if you haven't already done that. Many of you pointed out that I could get an annulment. Don't ask me why I didn't think of this earlier, but after you guys pointed it out, I planned on doing that. Haven't done it yet, but it will happen in the next few weeks. It will probably be much more easier than a divorce. With that being said, what happened now? So, a day after I wrote the original post, I went to Jake's apartment to get my stuff. I slept over at best friend's house in the meanwhile. Of course, I also took up Frank's offer to help me getting my stuff. When we arrived there, he pleaded with me that it was just a prank and he didn't mean to hurt me. The only thing I could think about is how he broke my trust before and how I couldn't trust him now if he told me he didn't mean to hurt me. When he saw Frank, his face turned red and he yelled at Frank and accused him of poisoning me against him. Don't worry, Jake, you did this yourself. He argued with Frank for a while and Frank confronted him with everything he did to him during his childhood. He told Frank to grow a pair and he should forget about what happened back then. Ironic when he's the one who never changed and is just as bad as before. He constantly tried to talk to me, but Frank stood in his way and talked over him. When we left, I saw how he angrily smashed the door. Apparently he's now spreading lies to his family that Frank tried to steal me from him. Luckily I was able to see who he really was before it was too late. What a coincidence that after this incident my family spammed me with messages as well about how we should talk to a therapist instead of breaking up over this. They only stopped when I threatened them to cut them off too. I also didn't plan to share this with you, but so many people suggested it that I thought I could at least ask him, so after we got my stuff I asked Frank out, but he rejected me, telling me that he's already dating someone else. I just wanted to tell you this so you can stop asking. But honestly, I'm also kind of glad this was his answer, because it means he didn't just help me because there was a malicious intent behind it, but more because he's simply a good person. Regardless, I told him about my post here, and Frank told me he read many of your comments. He said he liked your comments and that you made his day. I thought you might want to know this. This is probably the first and last update of this. I just want to get this behind me and look forward, but thank you for all your support. Edit. If you want to call my story fake because I asked Frank out, feel free. I just acted on what many of you asked me to do, and I thought to myself that asking him once doesn't hurt anyone, and maybe led to a much healthier relationship if he said yes. I am not in the best state of mind and will now leave this account, so don't be surprised if I don't respond anymore. My story will stay here and hopefully raise awareness for many people who are in similar situations with toxic partners. No matter if they're male or female, I wish you all the best. And there was a lot of people questioning OP on asking Frank out so soon after what just happened. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's move on to another story. And our next story comes from the entitled People subreddit with a bit of work-related stuff going on from TG Marie 137 does come with an update as well and says customer demands my personal cell number and blames me for him losing his job. I work as a claims adjuster for auto accidents. A customer filed a claim after hours and I follow up with him first thing this morning. I have no info on the vehicle other than what he reported. And I inform him there is a possibility of it being a total loss. He immediately jumps down my throat and tells me he doesn't want his car to be a total loss, and he doesn't want me to have it moved to another location for an in-person inspection. I start to discuss an alternative with him when he starts cursing at me and berating me, constantly interrupting me, telling me just to pay the claim. If it were that easy of a job, I'd be paid less and my job would be a hell of a lot easier. I explain that per his insurance agreement, we have to inspect the vehicle before I can make a payment for his claim, and we need to see if it is going to be a total loss or repairable. He continues to be an ass, so I inform him that I will disconnect the call and try talking to him again when he has regained his composure. I hang up and go into a meeting, and he proceeds to call our customer service line over and over and over. He harassed a total of 4 women and refused to end the call until I accepted his call. I explained I was in a meeting and wouldn't be out for at least another 30 minutes or so. He continued to stay on the line with them for a few more minutes before hanging up and calling customer service again. I finally have a chance to call him back and I explain that we can try to work with his shop in having them submit photos so we can do a preliminary check to at least see if the car is a total loss or not. He tells me he sent me photos from the night before. I explained that there were no attachments to the emails he sent me and that we need very specific photos to have the most accurate review. He proceeds to tell me it's my job to call the shop and request them, which is what I told him at the start of the call anyway. He then demands my cell phone number. I explain that I don't have a work cell phone. He states he wants my cell phone number to be able to reach me over the weekend. I informed him I will not be providing that info to him. He demanded a few more times before stating he wanted to talk with my supervisor. I stated she was already informed of the situation and would be reaching out to him when she is able to. I'm not allowed to give out her contact info. He tells me that I need to have her call him immediately. I remind him that she is my supervisor and I cannot dictate her schedule. He proceeds to try and keep me on the phone until his demands are met. I inform him that I'm going to disconnect the call if there is nothing further to discuss, and he ends the call. I called the shop and they also gave me attitude, stating that I was keeping a good man from his job and that I shouldn't be wasting his time like this. I asked if they could email the photos to me just so that I can get it done, and they say they will. I have an uncommon last name, so I made sure to spell it out for them multiple times, since it is part of my email address. 2 hours before I leave for the day, I still don't have the photos. I text the customer and let him know, and he told me that he would call them. 5 minutes before I'm supposed to leave, I call the shop again and don't get an answer or option to leave a message. I text the customer and let him know that photos aren't received yet, and we won't be able to move forward on his claim until Monday. He starts blaming me for working in a different time zone, stating it isn't fair that I work 3 hours ahead of him. I explain that I don't work 3 hours ahead of him, I'm just 1 hour ahead, and the shop had all day to send me the photos needed. He now states that since he doesn't have a rental, didn't purchase the coverage, he's going to be fired on Monday, and it's all my fault. I offer to set him up with a discounted rental, and he tells me he doesn't have a rental company in his area, but it's still my fault for him losing his job. Goodness gracious, I'm so sorry to hear that. You mean to tell me your employer is so heartless as to fire you for missing a workday unexpectedly when it's your first occurrence or infraction with them? You may want to contact your state Department of Labor then. He tells me I should just pay the claim, and I'm holding up his claim for no reason to make life difficult for him. I would wonder what he thinks happens to adjusters who don't follow due diligence on a claim and just pay it. We don't get cookies, that's for sure. In fact, we face termination with our employer, fines with the state the claim was handled in, and possible jail time. Oh yeah, and our employer can sue us for the money we pay to the customer without authorization. And if the customer knowingly cashes the check when they know their claim wasn't supposed to have been paid out, they get reported to the federal government for insurance fraud and sued by the insurance company for repayment of the claim. I guess I'll see what he has to say on Monday. My supervisor has been reading my notes and keeping up to date with the claim, and she is going to have a very fun conversation with him, especially when all the calls exhibiting his bad behavior were recorded. ETA, this is a single vehicle accident where the customer hit a large object in the road that he absolutely should have seen. I won't state the specifics in case he's a Redditor. He did not file a police report, and he wanted to send me photos from the scene of the accident, which took place at night, and became more irate when I stated I needed a VIN photo from the sticker inside his driver's side door. Update, not too much going on, which is unexpected. It's been radio silence from the customer, and I don't trust it. I'm expecting a full blow up. My supervisor called him and left a message yesterday, but he hasn't called her back either. She informed me that I have her encouragement to put him on written only communication. I don't have to answer his calls anymore. She also stated that if he threatens me, which I'm not sure if he will or not, she will get our security team involved. I can press charges against him with his local police, as these are recorded calls. I called the shop today and spoke with the owner. I explained how the rep I spoke with on Friday acted very unprofessionally, and he informed me that the customer had apparently been calling her non-stop on Friday and harassing her as well, because she somehow thought it was a good idea to give him her cell phone number when he demanded it. The owner is an old friend of the customer. You all called it. But he provided this info very freely and stated that after this repair they aren't friends anymore, and he will blacklist him as the rep I spoke with is his niece. I got the photos, and there were several very thorough photos. It is pretty minor damage, and it is clear that he ran into something on the road. I can't give specifics, but it was a metal object that happened to be laying in the road that got wedged in the undercarriage. They had to pull really hard to get it unstuck, and the shop sent me a photo of the very warped item as well. Redditor Sleuths also called that he has a huge custom item that was not on the policy. It's a bed cover for his truck, but there was no damage to it, and even if there was, we wouldn't cover it if he didn't have endorsement for the custom equipment. I ran this SIU, Special Investigations Unit, and while they agreed that the customer was acting shady as hell, they didn't have enough info to start an investigation, and they stated that since it is a single car accident, we would still be obligated to cover his repairs even if he was lying. There are several states where we can deny a claim if the customer lies about how the accident happened, but sadly, this is not one of those states. I've texted the customer to let him know I got photos and that I was in contact with the shop, but he hasn't responded and it's radio silence. Either he's really embarrassed about his actions, as he rightly should be, or he's a ticking time bomb that's going to explode near the end of the week when I'm at my busiest, just to tell me in detail how I made him lose his job. We shall see. This will probably be the last update, but if anything else happens, I'll be sure to let you know. I truly appreciate the support and collective what the fuck from everyone, as it confirms I'm not just being crazy or sensitive. The one poster who told me that it's my job to handle this sort of thing, I've been trained for it. 1, I've never been trained for this level of crazy, and I challenge you to find anyone short of an orderly at a psych ward to be trained for it. And 2, it is my job to get cars fixed, not to deal with harassment and bad behavior. Let this be a reminder to everyone to be kind to others, especially the disembodied voices on your phone providing a service to you. And we do have another update to this, and I always think, like OP talking at the end there about, talking to someone on the phone, etc., etc. And no matter what, if you're frustrated on the phone, I always make it a point. So this is just coming from my point of view, because I've certainly faced frustration on the phone with certain places before, when you're getting passed from customer service to customer service, it can be extremely frustrating. I always make a huge point though of being upfront with people and saying, look, I'll start off just by telling you that I'm incredibly frustrated right now. I'm not frustrated at you, however, so please do not take this personally. I can remember myself saying that a lot when I was trying to help deal with my dad's illness and was calling around the hospital, getting passed from department to department, trying to get certain medications for him. And it, you spend hours in a day trying to get through to certain people. Incredibly frustrating. And I find most of the time, if you come at people with that sort of attitude and you're just saying I understand that it's not you personally, they're a lot more receptive. But OP's update says, I appreciate all the support I've received so far, and I did get a few messages requesting an update. As I expected, the quiet didn't last long, and the customer was indeed a ticking time bomb. The shop got me the info I needed to complete an estimate for repairs, and the owner explained that he expects he most likely will find additional damages that he will contact me for once he knows. He again apologized for his niece's behavior when I called the shop the first time and stated he's no longer friends with the customer. The Special Investigations Unit did review the claim and stated that there wasn't enough evidence of fraud, so no dice. I texted the customer to see if he wanted me to issue payment to him or the shop directly. He immediately demanded I call him as he didn't agree to the estimate amount. A bit of info on how auto claims process works for payment. 1. Insurance company creates an initial estimate based on what they can see of the damages. 2. Insurance pays an initial amount to get the ball rolling. 3. The shop and insurance stay in contact so that additional payment can be issued as needed through the process, as the shop finds additional and internal damages that might not have been super apparent initially. Sounds simple enough, right? Not for the customer. He starts talking about how the estimate from the shop is 7k and we are paying 6.5k. I let him know that we're happy to work with the shop to issue further payment as needed and explain that shop estimates are based on what they expect to see for the full repairs, and insurance pays what they can see and confirm. Not to mention, to keep insurance prices down for our customers, we try to negotiate costs with the shop to ensure that what we pay is reasonable. Before I can get 2 words out, he interrupts me and starts yelling, saying how I lost his job and I'm now denying his claim since I'm refusing to pay the amount the shop demands. I explain again that we aren't denying the claim, but this is the first of multiple payments we'll be issuing, and I need to know where to send the payment. I tell him that if he keeps talking to me like that, I will end the call. His response, of course you will. No self-awareness or apology. Acting like a toddler when he's nearly 40. I continue trying to explain, but he decides to keep talking over me and yelling at me. He starts to say shit about me as a person and my family, and I interrupt and state, "Do you want to finish that sentence for this recorded line, or who knows how many people to hear?" He stops, thinks, and then tells me that he hopes my husband sexually assaults me and leaves me. I recently got married, and IT is in the process of changing my name in the system. So some of my systems show my new name and some show my maiden name. It causes a lot of confusion, and so I have to explain it a lot while waiting for the updates. I had to explain it to this customer as well, so he knew full well he was saying this to a newlywed. I'll admit, I kind of snapped a bit and left my tour guide Barbie voice behind real quick. I said, "Sir, during this entire claims process, your own attitude has gotten in the way of your repairs. The way you have acted to me, my co-workers, and the employees at the shop is absolutely deplorable, and you should be ashamed. You haven't said a kind word to me at all, and you've been a nightmare to work with. Now you say awful things about my personal life that I explained on Friday was absolutely none of your business when you demanded my cell phone number. And now you insult my husband, whom you've never talked to and know nothing about. My husband is 10 times the man you will ever be, while being nearly half your age, and he knows how to treat people with respect, even if he is in a stressful or difficult situation. I feel awful for your wife if this is the type of man she has to deal with at home. At least my husband doesn't have to force me to have sex with him. But it's telling that is where your mind went to. Maybe you should mind your own home before you stick your nose in someone else's." He threw a few more expletives at me, but I ended the call because I just don't get paid enough. He again called my customer service team and made the poor woman cry. I took the call again and explained to him that he was now on written communication with me. He should call the customer service center, but I would never answer his calls again, and I will only respond to his emails or text messages. I then disconnected the line again. I thought that was the end of it, but turns out he still had my supervisor's contact info from when she called on Monday, so he called her up. She called me after she finished on the phone with him, and she gave me a summary. He apparently told her that I accused him of a sexual assault to his wife after he questioned the estimate that I wrote. I don't write estimates, that's our whole other department. He was trying to find out next steps when I ended his call. She had listened to his prior calls. She didn't believe it for a second. She put him on hold while she pulled the call and listened. She then tore him a new arsehole for what he said to me. He tried to say that I was worse, but she cut him off and explained that I am one of the adjusters in my unit with the highest metrics from customer reviews. I've had my fair share of angry customers and it takes a lot to make me snap. But she stated that his conduct had pushed me to the point of snapping, which she has never seen. She proceeded to tell him that she is enforcing my written contact only rule with him, as she had previously encouraged I do that with him anyway. And she stated that if she hears one more call where he is harassing an employee, she will talk with her supervisor to press charges for harassment. Unfortunately, we can't fire him as a customer because he still pays us money, and that the executives don't care how we are treated as long as we get more money. I'm hoping this spurs him to cancel his policy and becomes someone else's problem. I asked if there'd be any disciplinary action against me for the call. She said, "Call? What call? I don't see any call, and I definitely wouldn't have been able to delete it if the call wasn't recorded." Basically covering my ass if the customer tries to escalate above her to a supervisor or something. I sent a copy of the estimate to the shop and gave them instructions on how they could request more payment from us, and the customer texted to tell me to send payment to them as well. After our call, he called the shop and apparently they had a massive fight because the customer then texted me and said, "Send payment to me." The shop just pissed me off big time. So I sent the payment to him, with his lien holder included, so he has to mail the check to them to endorse and cash before they send him a new check. And of course it won't be overnighted, but by standard USPS mail both ways. I got him to close the claim, but I still don't think this is the last I'll be hearing from this guy. I'll provide more updates as they come, but thankfully I don't have to talk to him again. Thanks again for all the support on this. It's nice to know I'm not crazy or expected to be a doormat. Absolutely fair play to anyone that can deal with any sort of like customer service based role over the phone or face to face or anything like that, man. I've never been able. I dread the day if I ever have to go into a role like that, you know. There is a lot of absolute bloody arseholes out there, isn't there? One of my previous jobs from some years back now, when I worked in the warehouse and I told you that I had to sit in on the customer service part, I didn't have to do anything. I just had to listen into their phone calls and see what was the whole process basically. And you basically rotated around the company, so you got a little bit of everyone's job so you understood what was going on within the business. That was the same job where I told you about like the whip in the sofa and that kind of thing. But listening to some of those phone calls and how rude some people can be is just absolutely mind-blowing. I know people can be stressed out, you know, when like in that particular job, your sofa's got damaged, something's got damaged, you know. It can be a stressful situation, but to treat someone else, another human, like absolute shit when they're trying to help you, these people were kind. And like the phone calls that I listened to, these people were absolutely spot on, lovely people, just trying to do their best, not trying to get out of, you know, the insurance claim or whatever, but we're trying to help them in the best way possible. And you hear some of the phone calls and some of the replies like, "Just fucking fix it," kind of thing. And you think, gee whiz. Anyway, what do you guys make of this situation? Have you ever been in a customer facing role like that? How and faced a customer who was particularly bad to deal with? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And our next story comes from Major Contact 4009 and says, "Am I the arsehole here for marrying my sister's ex? Me, 27 female, and my sister, 29 female, have been fighting recently for something that I thought got resolved a long time ago. I've debated posting for like a week now, but figured someone not directly involved would be good to hear from. A couple of months ago, I married my husband, Greg, 29 male, after being together for 4 years. We met each other at the same office and I developed this huge crush on him. I was pretty sure he was into me too, so I decided to bring it up to my sister, Alicia. Alicia and Greg had dated in middle school when they were both 13-ish, and because it had been so long and at such a young age, I didn't think there would be an issue, but I still wanted to check. I didn't want to accidentally start dating some long-lost love of her life or something, so I thought I would clear the air by asking. She seemed a bit surprised because I don't think she was expecting to hear about her middle school ex-boyfriend randomly so many years later. But after we talked for a bit, she said she didn't really care. So I thought, cool, I have the go-ahead. I thanked her and moved on with things, and a little while later, me and Greg got together. It never seemed to be an issue before recently. We hit all the milestones and she seemed to be happy for us. When he met my family again, they were a bit surprised, but things were fine. My sister was even one of my bridesmaids and seemed happy for me the entire time. Like, I haven't really thought of them dating him forever because it no longer seems relevant. I mean, she has a husband at this point, so it doesn't seem like a middle school boyfriend would be something to dwell on. We were with my family this Christmas, and things were going just as fine as they usually are, until my sister started handing out the presents she had gotten. Now, we don't get each other presents every year, and people in my family typically aren't buying special presents for people they're not close to. So the in-laws don't get screwed or anything because they didn't buy every individual cousin a gift. But during my wedding planning, she said she wanted to get me something special for my first Christmas as a married woman. So it took me off guard. I looked sort of confused for a second, but I didn't want to be a bitch on Christmas, so I just smiled and watched everyone open their gifts. Lots of circumstances could cause someone to not be able to get a gift, so it was fine. But after she finished handing things out, she looked at me and said I wasn't getting anything because I had taken enough. I asked her what she meant because, and she said I didn't have to be so weird to plot to take Greg from her. I'll admit I had a crush on him when I was 11, but I didn't plan my life around dating him one day. I grabbed her and pulled her into the other room and we started yelling at each other. I definitely said some nasty things because if she had an issue, why wouldn't she bring that up when I directly asked her? We both wound up leaving my parents' house early and her husband seemed super pissed. My mum texted that she was disappointed we fought in Christmas, which yeah, I get, but it's not like I did it intentionally. She's telling whatever family members will listen about how I stole her boyfriend and so they're mad at me. And I don't feel like I could be the arsehole, but I also can't tell. Greg's super pissed because she's been trying to message him about this and he doesn't get why this is such an issue. I've tried to speak with him a couple of times and I brought up how I asked her already for permission, but she says I took her off guard. So, am I the arsehole? Edit, I just finished talking to my mum. We'll update either tomorrow or the next day. I'm so pissed. So there were some relevant comments as always that OP responds to. Mysterious Win says she started dating him at the age of 13, right? What age did they break up and why? OP says they dated for less than a year, so they were both probably around 14. And from what they both told me, they just sort of got bored of the relationship and stopped talking as much before Greg eventually broke things off. So it says, not the arsehole. Oh good god. Does Sis's husband know that Sis is mad about this? He had no way to know that Sis was angry. I would not want to be in her husband's shoes right now. OP says he was there during presents, so he has to be aware. Even though we definitely talked more away from everyone, she made it pretty clear why she was mad, why we were still sitting around. Someone asks OP about the sister's marriage and plans, and OP says she was 26 when she got married. I'd say her wedding was a bit bigger because her husband has a wealthy family. She seemed fine after the wedding and there was no drama then, at least that I know of. I hadn't thought about pregnancy. They had mentioned trying, but we haven't heard any big news since. Now, I found this one a bit of a strange one and it's got me thinking, is there something else going on at the same time? You know, we see strange behavior all the time within these stories, of course. And it also got me thinking about how her husband's feeling as well, seeing all this. Yeah, I'm just wondering what the hell else is going on, basically. A couple of comments. First one says, wait, your sister is 29. She's accusing you of stealing someone she dated briefly at 13. Despite the fact that she clearly moved on, married someone else and given you the go-ahead. Not the arsehole. Your sister, however, needs therapy. Livid Half says you are definitely not the arsehole. Even asking her if it was okay to start dating Greg was kind of overcautious, but considerate. Given they dated when they were children and she's married to someone else. I don't know what your relationship is normally like, but if this kind of outrageous scene is out of character, I would try to sit down and get to the bottom of what exactly she's upset about. Problems in her own marriage, perhaps. One more comment from Two who says, not the arsehole. Tell her to get a grip of herself because whatever is going on with her marriage, she's making a fucking fool of herself and will regret it in the future when she's burned your relationship and comes seeking support. I'm kinda guessing something is majorly up with her marriage. Either she cheated and is looking to pass the blame like she's not happy, and it would totally have been fine if she married Greg, but her husband wasn't the one, so it's not her fault. More likely he cheated or something, so she's pissed about that and looking outside the marriage and fixating on the one that got away. If there is nothing wrong with her marriage and she just started acting like this, she's straight crazy. So OP did update the post and says things are pretty tense right now in my family, but less people are mad at me now. A lot of you are correct about the marriage issues between my sister and her husband. The other night, my mum invited me over to talk about what was happening. First, she apologized for telling me she was disappointed. Her and my dad were just upset that there was drama on Christmas. I apologized for picking the fight during the gift exchange because I know I definitely could have waited until later. Her and my sister have been talking a lot the past couple of days. I have yet to talk to her in person. Alicia told my mum that her husband, Chris, had told Alicia that I had been flirting with him and I had seduced him. I would never fucking do that. So this was a pretty big shock to hear. It'd never been weird to me, so I'd always been cordial, but I am in no way attracted to him. She had told my mum a couple of months back that Chris was interested in another woman, but never said who. They'd been going to couples counselling to help, and Alicia told mum it had been helping. We're not sure what caused her to snap at Christmas specifically, since beforehand she told my mum things were getting better. My mum had called her the night after we fought, and that's when my sister told her that I was the person Chris had been talking about. I just don't get why he'd pretend we'd been flirting or why she'd even believe it. I've always been open about Greg, and I can't even think of the last time I've spoken to Chris without someone else present. I guess he wanted to avoid responsibility or something, but he didn't have to make that my issue. But the stealing comment she made towards me was because I guess she saw it as once is a coincidence, two is a pattern, and thought I was some evil bitch who wanted every guy she had. When my mum called me over, she didn't think I was doing anything with Chris, but she still asked to make sure, which really hurt, to be honest. It's not like I can prove I'm not doing something, but she believes me at least. Since we've talked, she's been doing damage control on all the relatives, who my sister was telling I was stealing her husband. This whole thing would have been easier if she just talked to me about it. My mum said she would try to talk to Alicia some more to convince her I'm not trying to steal her husband. Greg's pissed. He's pissed at my whole family pretty much, but mostly Alicia and Chris. He texted Greg yesterday. My name only loves you because you were mine. I fear I guess she doesn't believe my mum. He blocked her after that. I don't know. I was hoping the reasoning would have been something else. I'm not sure what to do. I don't know if my relationship with her can come back from this, and I refuse to be anywhere near Chris. And the top comment on that last post pretty much said, it's possible your brother-in-law cheated and is using you as a smokescreen to hide it. It is unfortunate your sister chose this route, but that's on her. It is also possible she knows he cheated and who with, and is also using you as a smokescreen. Either way, none of this is on you. Your sister is an adult and is capable of communicating like an adult and not like she's 14 again. And many people saying that it sounds like the brother-in-law is already cheated and that he's manipulating the sister, and people are not excusing the sister either, saying, you know, this is her choice as well. Other people saying they'd cut off that family completely. But what do you guys make of this situation? How would you deal with it if it was you? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's move on to another story. And our next story comes from the Am I the Arsehole Here subreddit from Major Artist 340. It does come with an update as well that says, Am I the Arsehole Here for not offering to pay my husband and his kids, leading him to spend all of his savings? For a while now, my husband, John, has been getting more and more angry over little things and generally moody and distant. I'd finally had enough and approached him about separation. This conversation led to a big blowout and him revealing the state of his finances. My husband and I have always kept our finances separate. Also, although we call each other husband and wife and had a wedding, we are not actually legally married. This was primarily for inheritance purposes because we each have older children from previous relationships. Anyway, John revealed that he had basically no savings left, and all the money he had saved for retirement and for his kids' schooling was gone. Furthermore, he said it was all my fault since he used all his savings up to try and keep up with my lifestyle. There was never anything crazy in terms of bills or anything like that, and we always split it all equally. The house we live in I own outright as well, so there wasn't a mortgage payment. However, I've always liked to travel a lot on fairly extravagant vacations. I would invite John or John and his children to join on trips, but never made them feel like they had to come. That said, he was expected to pay for himself and for his kids. except for recently he accepted every invitation. I would also give my kids things he considered extravagant, but I considered normal, so he felt like he had to give similar things to his own kids. John said with all the spending to keep up, his savings dwindled very fast. I expressed that I couldn't understand how or why he would spend all he had when he knew he couldn't afford it. He said it was like keeping up with the Joneses, only worse, because it was at home, so he couldn't block it out. John thinks since I knew his job, I should have had a basic understanding of his finances, and realizes this wasn't a lifestyle he could maintain. That the kind of thing would have been to offer to pay for the trip and other things instead of dangle them in front of his and his kids' faces. Looking back, I probably could have realized that this spending didn't make sense for his salary, but I wasn't thinking about it. I don't think it was my responsibility to keep his finances in mind here. We'd agreed from the beginning to keep our finances separate, so to me, that means paying for things separately. Edit. We do not live in a state with common law marriage. So, some relevant comments on this one. Someone says, why not get married? You know you can make children beneficiaries in wills, right? Opie says, here spouses are included in inheritance, even if they're omitted from wills, and I plan on leaving everything to my kids. Question on ages, and Opie says, I'm 44, he's 53. We don't have any children together. Someone says, so you didn't discuss trips you could afford together. Opie says, we did discuss the trips and I asked for input about where to stay and what we do, but he never gave any or had any suggestions. I always assumed he just didn't like planning things. I would have likely still gone on the trips if he didn't want to. Someone says, so if he said no, would you just go on the trip on your own? Opie says, I would have likely still gone on the trip. That said, I would have been open to less expensive trips had he brought it up. Except for the past 2 trips he never declined. I didn't go alone though. I went on one with some friends and the other with my daughter. And then there was a couple of exchanges between people, so someone said everyone sucks here. John should have ended your marriage way earlier. He can't keep with your lifestyle and it would be horrible and very unfair to subject his children in a life where half of the family goes on fancy vacations regularly and the others stay home. He should have been honest way earlier before his savings drained and ended the marriage. You should have had more awareness of your partner's struggles. How do you share a life with someone and don't realize these things? Opie says he paid for things without any hint that he was struggling. I assumed his attitude change was when things started to get really bad, and I did ask what was wrong. But he would just say things were fine or that he was upset about some little thing, like the dishes not being put away. The commenter says, before you were together, how often were you taking trips with your kids? Opie says, I've always done about the same amount of trips every year, usually 2 with my kids. His kids mostly live with their mom and mine will still split time between me and their dad pretty equally. My eldest is in college now though. Someone says I have a burning question. Did you ever ask him why he was acting that way before you decided it was time for separation? Because from the outside you come off as the female stereotype that men don't have emotions, so there's no need to check. Opie says I did. He would always say it was fine, or I would ask what's wrong and he would get mad about the dishes not being put away or some other little thing. Commenter says, if you enjoy having him with you, maybe you could pay for him to go. Opie says if things were better I might consider it, but at this point I'm really not enjoying being around him anymore. I'm going to use this break to take some time to reevaluate things. Someone says, it sounds like you don't love him at all. Why were you with him? Were you really together or just roommates with benefits? Why wouldn't you leave him anything in the will? How would you split daily life? Opie says, with how things are now, it's hard to talk in present tense. I loved him. For me, it just feels like it would be wrong for my money and assets to go to anyone other than my kids given. For him, well, I don't really need any inheritance, so it just makes the most sense for it to have gone to his children. For restaurants, we've just always taken turns paying. So, around 18 days after the original post, OP does come in with their update and says, after reading all the comments on my first post, I realized I needed more time to think about things. I also thought with the situation how it would be best that we spend the holidays apart to avoid controversy. He wasn't a fan of the idea, but I eventually got him to agree to go. Last week, things settled down, so we met up to have a more detailed discussion about the state of his finances. A few more things were revealed. I found out that he had lost his job earlier this year and didn't tell me. He got a new job in October, but he went over 4 months without one while pretending he still had one. During that time, he only got a small amount of money from unemployment, so he started putting everything on his credit cards. His new job doesn't pay as much as his old one, so he hasn't been able to pay more than a minimum towards his debts, which are now substantial. I feel like if he had just brought up all these issues earlier, this could have been avoided, or we could have worked something out. Now I really just feel like I can't trust him. I can't trust him with money, and I can't trust him not to hide things from me. I just can't see going back and trying to make things work with him at this point. Since he doesn't have a place to take all their things, I've agreed to store their stuff in my garage until he gets more settled, which means I won't be able to make as clean of a break as I would like right now. But for the most part, it's over. Oh, dearie me, lying that you lost your job and then going into credit card debt as well. My word. But if I'm being completely blunt and honest, and as always, I'm probably completely wrong, or there's some logic behind this that I'm just not quite getting at the moment. I didn't quite understand much of the relationship anyway. The way that it was talking, it didn't feel like they were actually together, and that may be just from the lack of communication from his side of things. Just trying to keep up and spending all his money, etc., etc. But whilst I was reading it, it just felt like there was like this total disconnect anyway. And that's not from just like the separate finances. I totally get that. And I know many people who do keep their finances separate. But I don't know. What do you guys make of this one? I'll be very, very interested to know. Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below as always. And our next story comes from a throwaway account from the relationship advice subreddit and says, my 40 male, wife 36 female was seen holding hands with another man. My wife 36 female and I 40 male have been together for 5 years and got married last year. We definitely have our ups and downs, but we're generally happy. On Friday she went out with people from her work for Christmas drinks and arrived home around midnight absolutely hammered. She just said she had a good time and went straight to bed. Yesterday, I got a message on Instagram from an anonymous account, claiming to be one of her colleagues, saying she'd been flirting all night with one of the guys from the office, 44 male, and they'd left together about 9 to walk to the train station. The colleague had a couple more drinks, then went to the station herself, and says she saw my wife walking hand in hand with a guy through the station at about 10:45. They didn't see her. Last night I showed her the message and asked her for an explanation. She claims she was so drunk she doesn't remember anything that happened after about 8 PM. I asked if she went somewhere with the guy after they left the group, and she checked the location history on her phone, which confirmed they'd gone to a bar near the station for about an hour. They arrived at the station at 10:40. She gave me her phone and insisted I check it, and there were no suspicious messages or anything. As far as I could tell, she doesn't have the guy's number in her phone, and they're not following each other on Instagram or friends on Facebook. I asked if she was flirting with him, and she admitted that she was talking mostly to him all night, but that's just because he's the only person in her office that she has anything in common with, and that they're just friends and it wasn't flirting. She mentioned this guy to me before and said how much they have in common. I asked if they were holding hands, and she said she doesn't remember, but she doesn't think so. She claims to know who sent me the message and says it's a woman in the office who hates her, although she doesn't know why. Today she's been in a terrible mood and we've not really spoken. So that's where we are. I'm not sure what to do. Is this as big as a red flag as it seems to be? And we're starting the comments with okay but not okay, who says there's a collection of issues here, but the terrible mood today seems a big one. The information you received is largely correct. It looks a bit fishy, and instead of reassurance she is in retaliation mode. No doubt focusing on her office rival. She should be apologizing and doing what she can to defuse the situation. Getting so drunk you can't recall and focusing on a particular man and going off privately with him. I wonder what she would feel if this was something you had done. Tell her to lose the attitude and figure out how she plans to sort this out. That Sloth Duke replies to that saying OP should really focus on this advice. She voluntarily gave up her phone for examination. Unless she has a second cell phone, chances are that she isn't having an affair. OP should check her car for it. If there is no affair, she should at least be attracted to him to get to a point where she is holding hands with him. That combined with the fact that she isn't going into crisis mode but is generally just pissed at her colleague points to the fact that she is just a shitty partner. Not necessarily a cheater, but a very shitty partner nevertheless. I don't know, for me in this one, just the holding hands and flirty would be enough to be raising my suspicions, absolutely. And of course, I got no proof of the situation at all, and it might be, as always, just one too many Reddit stories read. This is giving me bad vibes. Admirable ad says your wife should be more worried about a relationship with you, but she's all about the office fight. Bro, the other person did you a solid. Now you know. Cheaters who are good use burner phones, so her phone being clean means nothing. Instead of reassuring you she's in a foul mood. Really? Time to start planning an exit. If you can reach out to the man she's left with spouse. Show her your evidence. She needs the truth as well. Start using condoms while having sex with her. Get STD checked. If she asks why the condoms, tell her your irresponsible drunken nights you cannot remember, so you went for STD tests. She should do the same. Bro, for me, this is an end all. A reaction of not even considering this can harm you is telling. And a final comment from new arrival who says, so she probably wasn't blackout drunk. She most likely just saw an opportunity and left the party to spend time with a co-worker she's been talking about and had her eye on for some time. Adults don't leave a party for 4 hours to just walk around a train station holding hands. You are getting trickle truth. Unless she goes totally no contact with his co-worker, and that included getting a new job, the end result is you will find out she had an emotional affair and probably a physical affair that will continue as long as she works with him. So, OP does update the post and says, a few people requested an update to my last post, and a lot has happened in the last week, so here it is. I'll post any further updates on my profile. Sam came home from work on Monday and casually said that she'd spoken with the guy, Tom, and he'd confirmed that they hadn't held hands, they'd just been walking arm in arm because she was drunk and wearing heels. I asked why her colleague, Helen, would make an Instagram account, track me down and message me saying they held hands if it wasn't true. She said Helen is basically in love with Tom and made a pass at him just after his divorce, but he rejected her. I asked why Helen would feel threatened by her. She says because her and Tom are friends and Helen's a crazy jealous bitch as evidenced by the Instagram message. I asked why she went for a drink, just her and Tom. She said that according to Tom, they walked past this bar with an amazing live band playing, so they stopped in for a drink. Her only regret was doing too many shots too early and getting shit-faced. The next day, she went shopping after work and came home with a new dress. I asked what the occasion was, and she said her work Christmas party. Last week was just drinks with people from her office. The company Christmas party is on Friday. Apparently, she had mentioned this. I hardly slept that night. The next day, I decided to reply to the Instagram message to get some more info. I asked, do you think anything's going on with them? Helen, I assume, quickly replied with a long message saying that they flirt at work and everyone's noticed. Apparently Sam was going to be let go, but Tom put in a good word, so she kept her job. Tom protects her in the office and will constantly defend her. She's also said that Sam bitches about me to the whole office, and it's clear we don't have a happy marriage. I asked if she was going to the Christmas party, and she said she was. She says she'd update me if anything happened. Sam finished work early on Friday, so she had time to get ready. She looked amazing, and I really didn't want her to go, but I felt like I couldn't say anything. I got an Instagram message about midnight saying Sam and Tom hadn't interacted at the party, but that people from the office had decided to leave and go to a different bar. They all left just before 11 and were at the new bar by 10 past. Sam arrived home about 2 AM, not quite as drunk as last time, and went straight to sleep. I pretended to be fast asleep. I looked at location history on her phone. After leaving the venue, she'd taken a 3-mile detour to a residential street, stayed for half an hour, then gone to the bar. I sent the address to Helen. She didn't reply until the next morning when she said it was Tom's house. When Sam woke up, I just asked her straight out if she cheated on me with Tom last night. She angrily denied it. I told her that I knew she'd been to Tom's house. She accused me of spying on her, called me controlling, said she was going to stay with her sister. I demanded an explanation, and she said she went to his house so they could smoke a joint before heading to the bar. Then she stormed out. She wouldn't reply to my messages or answer my calls all Sunday. I called her sister, who said she hadn't seen her, but she texted me later that she'd spoken to Sam and she was okay. Sam came home yesterday morning. I asked where she had been and she just said she couldn't do this anymore and wants a divorce. She went to start packing some clothes while I tried to get her to talk to me. I asked if she was leaving me for Tom. She once again denied anything inappropriate had happened between them, but said my jealousy was the final straw. It's clear I don't trust her. I'm controlling. I take her for granted. She's deeply unhappy. Has been for a while. So she's gone. It looks like I'll be spending my first Christmas alone. I have no idea if she was telling the truth or if it was an affair. Weirdly, I'm not feeling too bad today, so maybe this is for the best. And we have OP's final update. It starts off, once she was gone, Sam blocked me on all her social media and refused to return my messages or answer my calls. I ended up traveling to the other side of the country to spend Christmas with my parents. On Christmas Eve, Sam came home and took more of her stuff. I watched her on our security cameras. I tried phoning her, but she ignored my calls. Christmas wasn't great and my parents were both shocked and in denial about what has happened. They had no idea we were having issues and insisted Sam would come to her senses and come home. Eventually I just said she had met someone else. I returned home on the 27th. I'd been getting sporadic updates from Sam's sister, just letting me know she's alright, but without any details. Before all this happened, we made plans to spend New Year's Eve at Sam's favourite bar in the city. I went on my own, but she didn't show up. On Tuesday night, I received an Instagram message from Helen saying that Sam and Tom had arrived at work together in Tom's car. I didn't bother replying. On Wednesday night, she sent another message saying Sam was poisoning the office against her and that Tom was pushing upper management to transfer her to another office or get rid of her. She begged me to do something. I texted Sam and said we needed to talk, but she didn't reply. So the next day, I called her work switchboard, gave a fake name and got put through. I could tell she wasn't happy to hear my voice, but she agreed to meet up after work at a local pub and talk. I got there early and she arrived 25 minutes late. She apologized for ignoring my calls and said she still cares about me and wants to end things on good terms. I said just tell me the truth. She promised that she wasn't having an affair with Tom and they were just friends. She admitted that they talk a lot in the office, but insisted it wasn't an emotional affair. She understands why I was suspicious after the Instagram message, but said I should have accepted her denial and trusted her. She has a lot of male friends, but she felt like she couldn't hang out with them because I'd get jealous. I pointed out that I've never told her not to hang out with anyone, but she said I'd be in a mood whenever she'd hang out with a guy friend. She feels like we only got married to try and fix a relationship that was already broken. Our conversations have devolved into small talk and we've drifted apart. I said I'd heard that she and Tom arrived at work together. Sam said she went to Tom's after I accused her of cheating and knew it was over between us. They spent the weekend together and agreed they'd make a better couple than we did. She needed me to know that nothing happened between them until after she told me she wanted a divorce. And now they were together, and she wanted me to hear it from her before I saw it on social media. Tom was waiting outside for her in the car. All I could do was stand up and walk out. Sam texted me saying she knew I was upset, but not to do anything stupid. I blocked her number. I'm not gonna lie, it was a rough night. The next day I was just numb. Didn't really do much. Over the weekend I dug out our marriage certificate so I can start divorce proceedings. I have no idea what to say to Helen, so I haven't replied. I think the plan now is to try and find a new job closer to my hometown. I moved across the country to live with Sam and I've never really felt settled here. I also don't want to run into her and Tom around town. Luckily, we rent. This will probably be my last update unless something miraculous happens, so thanks for reading. I'm not buying the whole didn't cheat thing and she only got with Tom after they had broken up, etc, etc. It just doesn't feel like that to me. The whole, being at his place for half an hour just to go and smoke a joint apparently. There's an absolute possibility. There's an absolute possibility that it might be a rebound relationship, etc, etc. But all of this just feels out there to me. Apparently these were just good friends at work, just colleagues, that would talk to each other, etc., etc. But then as soon as they broke up, she went to spend like the weekend with him and then just decided instantly like this, that we would make a better couple than I did with my husband. Yeah, it just feels off, but what's your thoughts on this one? Maybe you got a different take on the matter. Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. And our next story comes from the Am I the Arsehole subreddit. It does have an update as well from Throwaway Car Man. And before we do get into it, just a quick warning, there's discussions of death of a pet within the story. So if you want to skip it, please feel free to do so. You know where these timestamps are. And it's titled, Am I the Arsehole for buying a brand new car, even though my fiance said not to, even though we needed it? So me, 28 male, and my fiance Ashley, 30 female, have been together for 8 years. I'm the only one who drives as she doesn't have a license, so she relies on me when transportation is an issue, going to work, getting groceries, etc. As for my car, it's a piece of shit. I love it when people are just blunt like that. I've had it for 5 years and I do not know how I managed to make it last this long. It has nearly 250,000 miles on it. It needs 4 new tires, new brakes, the engine is worn, and according to the mechanic, the transmission will go any day. So getting a new car was a pretty big priority, at least for me anyway. Ashley didn't see it that way. She did not want me to get a new car at all. She started an argument with me that it would be too expensive and we won't have any money for our wedding later this year if we buy one. But I have money. I've budgeted a lot and I could afford to buy a brand new car without digging into my savings, and so I have plenty left in my checking. Granted, yes, I could have just bought a used car, but I swore to myself to get a brand new one because I don't want high maintenance costs again. Despite showing her the numbers and everything and even agreeing that we'd still have plenty of money, she still refused. I decided that I would get a new car anyway and bought one, paid in full, earlier this week. She was extremely pissed. Since then, Ashley has been avoiding me and figuring out other costly means of transportation on her own. The way I see it, getting a new car was an absolute necessity, but she did not think so. Did I really do something wrong? Should I have bought a used car? Is there something else I was missing? There was a couple of comments Opie added in replies to people, so someone's talking about the finances. Opie said, it was purely my money and my money alone. We have separate finances. Someone says, did she have trouble with you buying a new car or just a car in general? Opie said she had an issue with me buying another car in general. She wanted me to keep my current car until it died for whatever reason. Someone says, this is a clear sign you shouldn't be married yet as your relationship is not healthy. Opie says, if you're talking about her driving license, she has tried multiple times but failed each time. But Tater Sprout says, not the arsehole. A reliable vehicle is more important than spending that money on a wedding. This old car was already a money pit. Given her reaction, I would postpone the wedding. She doesn't get to make all the decisions herself. She isn't mature enough to be married to. Isaac the Madman says, not the arsehole. You are not married. It's your car, your money, and your life. Whether she sees it as a necessity or not, she has no right to be mad at you for spending your own money to buy yourself something that needed replacing. Stevie says, as you have separate finances, not the arsehole. Though, take this opportunity to take a step back and reevaluate your relationship. If you two are struggling to come to an agreement about buying a car, do you think your communication and compromisability will get better in the future, simply because you got married? And a final comment from Jewel Cat Lady who says, not the arsehole, she doesn't drive. You don't say if she pays for gas at all. It was your savings from your income. You just completely dismissed potentially dangerous and expensive issues. Hydroplane on overworn tires. Good luck keeping the car on the road and away from other cars or obstacles. Transmission goes out at speed on the freeway, but I hope you can get to the shoulder without anyone hitting you. Either this woman is completely delusional about motor vehicles and finances, or she doesn't give a fuck. Hope that you'll put the wedding on hold at least, if not, cancel altogether. So, a couple of days later, OP comes back in to update the post and says, hello everyone. Thank you all for commenting on my post. There is something I would like to address before getting to the update. There's a few lengthy threads about how Ashley must be using weaponizing competence since she's failed her driver's test several times. The written part she has passed, it's the driving section that she fails all the time. You see, she has ADHD and is on the spectrum, so she tenses up a lot when she gets behind the wheel. While her anxiety has gone down in recent years, driving is still a sore spot. Now, many of you, including me, believe that this was all just financial abuse and she wanted control of my money. Well, we were all wrong. Yesterday I went to take care of a few errands, and when I came back, Ashley came to me with tears. It looked like she'd been crying for a long time. She apologized for getting angry at me and for avoiding me. She said she knew my old car was on its last legs and knew a new one was necessary. She also understood that there would be plenty of money left. Ashley admitted she wasn't mad about the money, it was actually the memories of my old car. She only mentioned the wedding because she didn't want to sound pathetic and seemed to be the most obvious choice. You see, last year we had a 14-year-old German Shepherd that we sadly had put down after she got cancer. Ashley had her ever since she was a pup and loved her very much, and so did I. Ashley was an absolute mess after that. We never took down her crate and had placed her old blankets, pillows, as well as her leash and collar in it. What does this have to do with my car? I still had her old blanket in my old car whenever we took her out. Some of her fur was still in the back seat, as I almost never vacuumed the back. Ashley was afraid of forgetting her, and that's why she wanted me to keep the car. I assured Ashley that I love her and that I loved her dog. If it meant anything, I took the blanket out of the car, which she asked me to place in the crate. I donated my old car, but the tow truck won't be there to pick it up until tomorrow, so she asked to see the old car one last time. So we drove to the lot and she had a tearful goodbye over it. I took her out to eat after that to get her mind away from it. So there you have it, everyone. This was never about money. And there was one more relevant comment from OP, which was in response to this comment, which said this relationship won't survive if she doesn't get therapy, to which OP said, unfortunately she takes a psychiatrist seriously, but a therapist, nada. And there was a lot of people sharing their stories of their attachments to their old vehicles. You know, some people, it was like their step to adulthood, if you like, their step to freedom. So they have strong memories, strong bonds with their first car, and told their stories of how tough it was to get rid of theirs. So what about you when you got rid of your first car? Did it affect you in any way? For myself, to be honest, I couldn't wait to get rid of my first car. It was a Renault Clio, and the clutch was a right knobhead on it. Some other people saying that they find Ashley exhausting, but what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And our next story comes from OpenLychee7587 from the True Off My Chest subreddit, and says, I just took a DNA test. Turns out I'm 100% not my dad's son. For as long as I can remember, my parents' marriage has been happy and stable. They were high school sweethearts, and my dad proposed to her at their senior prom, or so they say. Nowadays, they're your stereotypical old couple, just as in love as the day they married. For Thanksgiving, one of my friends bought DNA kits for our whole friend group. He's super into genealogy and family trees, and wanted to share his hobby, I guess. I just got my results back, and my biological father was found. Except he's not the man who I grew up calling my dad. He's some rando from New Jersey. He hasn't reached out to me, and I have no intention of reaching out to him. I have to admit, he does look like me, but he doesn't look like my sister at all. That means that either my sister is my dad's real daughter, or that my mum cheated multiple times. I do know that my dad's family has a history of fertility issues, and that his identical twin brother can't have kids at all. I don't want to blow up my parents' lives, and regardless of my DNA, my dad is still my dad. He raised me and loved me like his own, and that's all that matters to me. But there's a voice in the back of my mind telling me to tell. My dad deserves to know that his wife cheated and that he raised another man's child. But then, will he ever look at me the same? What if he disowns me out of rage? And what about my mum? She lives off his pension and home business, but she's a cheater, so maybe I shouldn't consider her feelings. I don't know. I had to tell someone, so I figured Reddit might be a good place. I'm going to think about what I should do for a while before taking any drastic action. I have the power to destroy my parents' lives, and I don't take that lightly. So as always, we have some relevant comments with some answers from the OP. So Board Panda 55 says, kind of depends on the couple, age, religion, etc. You literally have no idea what happened around your conception unless they told you something. It is very possible something else other than cheating. Maybe talk to mum first. I know you are angry now, but cheating is only one of multiple reasons for this. Last question. Did your DNA come back 100% your mum as your mum? Because that happened on Reddit before. Guy DNA tested his daughter, found out she wasn't him, and flipped on his wife. After tons of work and testing mum, they found out their child had been switched in the hospital. I think I remember that one. OP says her family's never done DNA testing, so I don't know. My parents have been honest with me about other embarrassing things. I just can't see them keeping something like that from me, but I suppose it's possible. Xena Sebastian says, how old are you, OP? It doesn't really matter, I'm just curious. You should definitely talk to your mum first. Your dad may know that you're not his biologically. OP says I'm 27, and you're right that it doesn't matter. I know people think I'm acting immature by jumping to cheating, but my gut is telling me that it can't be something as simple as a sperm donor or adoption. We're family, we tell each other everything, me and my dad especially, and I can't believe that they'd hide something as important as who gave me the blood in my veins. I don't know, and I guess I won't know until I talk to my mum. Diligent Course 6616 says, let me ask you some advice from a step-parent in a similar situation. Would you have preferred to have been told the truth since you were old enough to understand, or have it continue be kept a secret, knowing how you feel now? I don't want to lie to my stepdaughter, who calls me daddy and also known me as so, but obviously being a 5-year-old wouldn't comprehend much anyway. I don't know, guess I'll figure it out when the time comes. OP says, I'm pretty raw right now, so take it with a grain of salt, but I wish I'd known. Either way, I'd have known my dad loves me, as I'm sure your stepdaughter does. But if I'd known, then I wouldn't feel so shocked and betrayed right now. Also, what happens if your daughter grows up, moves out, then gets sick? She won't be able to give the doctors an accurate family history. And if she gives them your family history thinking that you're her bio dad, that might lead her medical team astray. She deserves to know where she comes from. Haunting Ad said, I found out my parents used a donor via genealogy kit when I was in my 30s. They planned to never tell me. Your mum may not have cheated at all. Which Doohickey replies saying, this is exactly what I think happened with OP's parents, especially since the identical twin is infertile and OP has a sibling. I'm thinking that dad is infertile. They used different donors for their 2 kids and never planned on telling either child. If that is the case, I'm sure the parents would have been worried this day would come ever since ancestry came onto the scene. And a lot of people are going down this sperm donor route because of the infertility within the family, which, I think does make sense. There's also a lot of people talking about knowing your own medical history, which we see in a lot of these stories as well, which makes sense to me. But I think the main consensus out of this one was that talk to your mum, find out what's going on. So OP did come in and update the post after and said, alright, so first off, I just want to say you're half right. Secondly, I want to explain in more depth why I didn't think it could be a sperm donor. My family, my dad especially, hold honesty as one of, if the highest values. The angriest I've ever seen my dad was when I covered up a bad grade in high school. Now, he never hit me or even really came close, but he shouted and made me feel like a piece of shit. My point is that lying is considered the greatest sin in my dad's eyes. He always told me that a man is only good as his word. The thought of my dad keeping something like that from me was nearly unthinkable. The reason I went straight to cheating rather than something like sexual assault was that I don't look at all like my dad. Because of this, my cousins teased me my whole childhood. They called my mum a whore behind her back, and combined with my rocky relationship with my mum, this made me always suspect that my mum had cheated. The DNA test only confirmed my suspicions, which is why I was so adamant that's what happened. Now, with a clearer head, I realized how those biases were affecting my judgment. Anyway, I called my mum the other day and explained about the DNA test. She chuckled, and instead of confessing to cheating like I thought she would, or to using a sperm donor like you guys thought she would, she said to me, I guess we couldn't keep this forever. Okay, I guess it's time you knew. And then proceeded to tell me this absolutely wild story. Here we go. She told me what I'd already guessed about my dad's fertility, that he's completely unable to have biological kids. Apparently, my parents didn't have the cash to pay for a sperm donor or an adoption, but they wanted a kid more than anything in the world. What they agreed to do was for my mum to drive to the next state over and have unprotected intercourse with men in the hope she'd get pregnant. Apparently, she tried to choose guys who had similar features to my dad so that the extended family wouldn't get suspicious. Luckily for my parents, my sister came out looking like a clone of my mum. 3 years later, my parents did the same thing, and that's where I came from. As I said before, I look nothing like my dad. I do have some features from my mum's side of the family, but absolutely none of my dad's side. Other than that, I have a lot of freckles, and so does my dad, and a few of his relatives. Turns out my biological father is also covered in freckles. I asked my mum if my sister knows, and she said that my sister doesn't know. My mum asked me for help telling my sister, because my sister has been hinting that she wants a DNA test before having kids, which she wants to have soon. I agreed. I'll be going over to my sister's place to talk to her soon, and the current plan is to have my parents on Zoom. I don't think I'll be updating again, so get your I told you so's out of the way now. Lol. Oh, what? It's one of those stories where I'm just like, I don't know. I know honesty is the best policy, but I'm just trying to imagine that situation where Opie confronted his mum and his mum just sort of chuckled and then went and told this story how she was going to other states and, you know, basically sleeping with other guys in the hopes to get pregnant. I don't know, it all just feels like such a lottery to me. It all just feels absolutely wild with so many different risks involved, including STIs. And obviously, Opie said they're 27 years old. Things like Ancestry weren't around back then. DNA testing services, I guess, like Ancestry, that's really easy to get hold of these days, weren't around. I think it only started, quick Google says 2012. Don't quote me on that because I'm not 100% sure. So they obviously didn't think that might be a case for down the road. But if Biofather ever does a DNA test similar to that, he's going to realize he has a child somewhere, which, you know, is another story in itself. Gee whiz. Now, I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's move on to another story. Now, our next story is from the Am I the Arsehole subreddit. It does have an update as well. There's a trigger warning on this story that says racism, so if you do want to skip the story, please feel free to do so. Timestamps are always down in the description and along the timeline below. And it says, am I the arsehole here for telling a friend what a tattoo really says? Throwaway friend group knows my main account. I, 37 male, went out to a New Year's Eve with a group of friends, and the group had some friends of friends, basically people I've known in passing. One of them, Andy, 39 male, bought his girlfriend Julie, 30s female. Julie decided to show a tattoo she got last week. She rolled up her sleeve to show it, and she announced proudly it said strength and beauty in Chinese. It was on her forearm and I almost spit take. Now, I have to explain, I'm half Korean, but people have mistaken me as Hispanic, so I don't really look Korean to most Westerners. I'm also not fluent, but conversational in Korean and able to read. The tattoo was in Hangul characters and definitely did not say strength and beauty. Julie got upset at my spit take and asked what my problem was. I said it's not Chinese and it doesn't say what you think it does. She got even more mad and said, what would I know? I explained I was Korean American, can read Korean, and what it says is not nice. I asked her what happened at the tattoo shop and she said she always wanted to get Asian characters and went to a shop and saw a Chinese guy in the shop and demanded he be the one to do her ink. I asked Julie and Andy if Julie did anything that could have pissed the tattoo artist off. She denied it, but Andy confessed she was super pushy about it and kept saying she wanted him to do it over any other artist in the shop because he would be used to the characters, plus a few other statements. By this point she was crying and not enjoying hanging out for New Year's Eve. She wanted to leave and wanted Andy to take her. On her way out she asked me what it said. I said it's like the worst thing you could call a woman. It's like bitch, but worse. She just burst into tears while walking out, and the two of them left. The rest of my friends said I was a real jerk for spoiling a new tattoo, and I could have made something up or not reacting. I had to explain that the word used is a really cultural faux pas, and to see it on skin is shocking to the highest degree, and the fact I was sipping on a beer when she revealed it only made a spit take impossible to avoid. Well, this morning I got some messages from friends saying I really should apologize to Julie for traumatizing her about her tattoo. I feel like this is ridiculous, like it's a really vulgar word on her arm, and if I had that on my skin, I'd like to know, but everyone else thinks that I should have just complimented her instead. So Reddit, am I the arsehole for revealing to a friend what a tattoo actually says? And we're going to start in the comments with Dangerous Ad 1986, who says, not the arsehole, she pushed for a person she assumed was Chinese to do a Chinese tattoo. Her character was revealed to everyone how she treats others. Now she has a messed up tattoo that she didn't even know what it said. You did her a favor. She's embarrassed as she should be. Everyone telling you that you need to apologize and shouldn't have said anything are ridiculous. They would all be mad at you if you didn't and found out you knew it and didn't say that. The hypocrisy. Ladybug Gal says the friends saying you should have just complimented her are the reason we get to watch the horrendous auditions on shows like American Idol. I mean, how can people get there truly thinking they are a great singer? It's because friends don't want to hurt them by telling the truth. Well, even if I hedged a bet about their singing ability when they were singing karaoke, I'd fess up if I heard they were going to audition. You, my friend, would be right there fessing up and getting the person to reconsider auditioning with me. I choose to be this kind of friend because there's a time and place for being kind and smoothing the waters for ego's sake. Like auditioning when you can't sing. Walking around with a vulgar tattoo is neither the time nor the place. Not the arsehole, and while she may be upset right now, I hope she'll come to thank you for your honesty. The real reply starts saying, you reminded me of a story of when my daughter was a kid. She was a really fantastic singer now and got a standing ovation at an open mic night when I went to see her sing. But at the time she was in middle school and wanted to enter a talent contest. And the song she was planning to sing was beyond her capabilities, with high notes she couldn't hit. We didn't have the heart to tell her how bad it was, so we suggested recording it so she could try and improve. After playing it back, she was glad we did because she'd have been mortified if she actually sang it in the contest. And one more comment from Celestia Messenger who says, if I had a vulgarity inked on my body, I'd be so thankful someone told me, you did the right thing. So OP came in to update the post and said, my friends contacted me a day later and apologized for responding to me the way they did New Year's Eve. They said they were more worried about the New Year's Eve party being brought down that night. But after sleeping on it and getting back to work, most of them realized they too would have wanted to know if they got branded with a vulgar word. Also, very few knew Julie, and only knew her through Andy, so they mostly tolerate her. Apparently this isn't her first incident either, and Julie isn't white, which is kind of funny, everyone painting her as some blonde white girl lol. I decided to play peacemaker and talk to Andy and Julie, and even offered to meet them at the tattoo shop. We went Friday night, walked in, and I saw the tattoo artist in question. Funny thing is, most Asians can tell I'm half Asian by looking. So he saw and he went, you told her what it said, yes? Kind of nonchalantly in Korean. We had a brief discussion in Korean. He remarked my accent had a American twang to it. Asked where my family was from, found out both our families came from the same city. The gist is I pointed out he could get sued for the tat. He admitted he pressed his luck with it and offered to pay out of his pocket for another artist in the shop to do a cover-up. I relayed that back to Julie, and that seemed to appease her. She went to one of the, I guess, tattoo people who would call it a workstation, and he explained that she still has to wait 2 months. Julie didn't like that, even when the artist explained that standard procedure is to wait 2 months for a tat to heal up until a cover-up is done. Andy thankfully googled it and pointed out that 2 months seems to be a minimum, and more complex tattoos have up to 6 months recommended healing before a cover job. She accepted the offer for a free cover and paperwork was signed and such. And one of the top comments on the whole post was from What Is in a Name 19, who says, "The lack of common sense in the comment section doesn't even surprise me. The smart thing to do would be to refuse her service and ban her. If you want to go a step further, contact all the other decent studios in the city and they hopefully ban her too. That way she has to go out of her way to get a tattoo. What you don't do is deliberately mark that person's body with a vulgar word, then that opens you up to being sued. Especially when you made it clear that it was on purpose in front of a number of witnesses. While being petty feels great, it can just as easily come back and bite you in the ass. And I would have no sympathy for the artist because that level of stupidity is not an excuse. I hope he was a great friend, and I sincerely hope Julie learns to be a better person." But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's have one more story from the Am I the Arsehole subreddit. It's one of the top stories, doesn't have an update at the moment. It's from WildStick5998 and says, "Am I the arsehole for accepting the prize money for winning a game? I didn't know I was playing." So, I, 21 female, went to my granddad's 80 male house last week and he handed me a jar full of cash with my name on it. He told me to count it and it came to £3,200. I asked him what it was for and he explained the rules of the game he'd been playing with the whole family. From the 1st of December 2023 to the 31st December 2023. Every time a member of the family visited him, he'd put 100 in their jar for every hour they spent with him. At the end of the month, the person who spent the most time with him would receive all the money in their jar, and the others would get nothing. He obviously didn't tell anybody that he was doing this, so that no one spent extra time with him to get the money. I won his game by £600, so 6 hours more than the person who came second, my uncle. At first, I didn't want to accept the money, only because I didn't think it was right to play games with people without them knowing, especially not your family. But after a while, he convinced me to take my prize money because I earned it. When I got home, I told my parents about the money and explained his game to them. I told my mum where she came on the scoreboard, 4th, and she was understandably upset at her father for making us unknowingly compete with each other. Then she told the rest of the family via a group chat. So now, pretty much my whole family is mad at my granddad for doing this, but also me for accepting the money. He's an old man and he's not exactly a millionaire. So they think that I should have refused the money and confronted him for what he did. I think that if he was willing to play this game, then he obviously has no problem with giving the money away. And he did insist on me taking it. Also, he's always been a weird guy, so although I don't agree with what he did, I'm not too surprised. So I don't think I should have to start an argument with him about it. Edit. Sorry I didn't make it clear enough. This took place between December 1st and December 31st of last year, but only lasting 1 month. Each person who visited him had a separate jar, so my jar had £3,200 in it because I spent 32 hours with him. Other people had different amounts in their jars, but I only received what was in mine. Another edit, thank you for all your responses so far. I've seen a lot of comments about how his game was unfair because some people have more free time. That's completely true. Although in this case, don't assume that just because I'm young, I have more free time. I have a full-time job, a partner, and a small side business to run. I have significantly less time than most of my family, apart from maybe my uncle, who works slightly more hours than me. The majority of my family work part-time or not at all, and only my aunt has a young kid to attend to. But she doesn't work either. I'm not saying the game was fair, but I think most of my family would not have trouble finding the spare time to spend with him. Some would just rather be doing anything else. But I'm going to try and cover a selection of comments on this one, some from the controversial section which were downvoted, some of the upvoted ones as well. So Bo says not the arsehole, and if you feel bad about receiving this money, might I suggest you spend it on experiences for you and your granddad to share. Opie responds saying he does keep talking about wanting to go abroad somewhere. I could spend it on us both having a nice holiday. Impossible Grill says you're the arsehole. Your grandfather sounds incredibly manipulative, and I'd have to believe he has done things like this many times throughout his life. You should divide the money amongst your family members or take them all out to dinner or something and not invite him. You didn't win anything. You continue to just be a pawn in his game. Either 1, not very bright and thought by telling you as well as letting others know they were ranked that he would get more attention and visitors next year. 2, He did the above to divide your family. What he could have done is said, "Thank you for visiting me so much this year. It meant a lot to me. I've been saving some money and I'd like you to have it. Please don't tell anyone else. I really wanted to do a grand gesture for someone and I don't want to hurt any feelings." Instead, he told you where everyone ranked. Dawn in Danger says, "I think Grandpa is the arsehole for this manipulative game. But OP is not the arsehole for accepting the money. PTA Grandpa is also likely very stupid. Now that he's played this game once, everyone is going to fall over themselves to spend time with him and it won't be genuine. They're just going to want his money." Stress says, "Not the arsehole. Personally, I think this game just shows which people in the family get along with him better and feel a certain closeness and understanding with your grandpa and thus spend time together. Is it a bit rude to put that into monetary value? A bit, but he's free to do what he wants. Though I suspect now he'll just get many more visits around Christmas, he will not give money again next year." Lady says, "Not the arsehole. Objectively, your grandfather has decided to give you money, and that's purely between the two of you. This should be the end of the story. Now, if you want to discuss the gamification aspect of it, here's what I think. Your grandfather has noticed things, or he wouldn't have come up with this game, and to reward certain behaviors without encouraging pure greedy attitudes, he rewards them after the fact. Family members being mad at losing this game and showing animosity, if not jealousy, because you did, comes very close to an embarrassing self-report. But now, I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Some of the comments are all over the place in this one, some saying that they think that the granddad's pretty manipulative in this situation. Some people just saying, you know, it was, well, the intentions were good, but it was just a shit execution. Other people saying it reveals about the rest of the family. What do you guys make of it? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And our next story comes from She's Chaotic Good 6599 and says, "Would I be the asshole here if I stepped down from being maid of honor to my brother's wedding after my future sister-in-law implied I will ruin it because I'm not as pretty as I was in my 20s? Look, my brother, male 38, Aaron, is super smart book-wise, but can be a fool when it comes to affairs of the heart. I'm not mad at him about this, and I don't want to hurt him, but Heather, female 27, is a Sith Lord of a woman, powerful, manipulative, and ugly underneath their masks. It sucks more because I introduced them. Heather and I, female 32, met playing Dungeons and Dragons, and we stayed in touch after that group disbanded. She met Aaron at my birthday party, and they dated in secret for a year before telling me and our mutual friends. They got engaged at my next birthday party, and he asked me to be his best woman, a female best man, because he and I have always been incredibly close, and Heather frowned at him and said that was ridiculous, and I obviously should be her maid of honor, since we're friends and a female, and women go on the bride's side. The moment became awkward, and I told them I'm happy to stand for them on either side, because at the end of the day, it's about them as a couple, not the individuals. Whatever they wanted worked. I'm an idiot. I can list in great detail all the disturbances in the force that should have told me she was far more trouble than she was worth, even if she was encrusted in diamonds, but my brother had been deliriously happy, and I rolled a 1 on insight, I guess. The short list of problems was that Heather assumed the maid of honor is also the wedding planner, point of contact of the bride, free makeup artist, and pays for the bridesmaids' dresses and the bachelorette party. I compromised by committing to doing the makeup for free. I did modeling in my 20s and know how to make do, helped plan the wedding with her and my brother, but could not financially pay for the dresses she wanted. I would pay for mine, but not the others. And the party, so I offered to do one, and she picked the dresses, the more expensive, and I paid it without complaint. She had all the bridesmaids except for me pay for the whole bachelorette trip, even those who couldn't come, but blasted me in the group chat about it like apologizing for the cost of the trip, since OP's not financially contributing, which led to the girls asking me how and why I ended up not paying anything. Things like that kept happening. I'm going to pause here and say my brother is a senior staff engineer at a huge tech company and teaches programming at a huge school, so he makes plenty of money. When I asked my brother why he wasn't helping pay for stuff at the wedding, he looked incredibly puzzled and asked what I meant. I immediately shut up, realizing I stepped in it, and he said Heather insisted she pay for her half of the wedding, and they joint pay the joint parts, cake, venue, etc. To say to her haters she's not marrying him for his money. I know I'm the arsehole for stepping in that one, I admit. There's more, but I don't want this to be a novel, so I will just jump to the part I might be a moral arsehole for. I hosted the bridesmaids and Heather at a planning party she wanted, and we sat working on odds and ends and drinking lots of wine. When one of the girls, Amber, female 20, asked if she can change her hair color. Her own wedding is coming up, and she got a long waitlisted spot with a salon on her wish list to dye her hair, and she wanted to go red. Note, I am black and use weave to shade and style my hair in crimson red twists. Amber said she would want about my shade and that it complemented my skin tone. Heather chuckled a bit at that and kind of looked at her like, what? And said that it was fine and she's no bridezilla, but she'd prefer only one of us to look that tacky. I felt hurt as Heather knew me before I went red years ago, and back then told me how great I looked and that I glowed, and now I'm tacky? I asked her if she meant it that way, and she shrugged and said, it's about the people, not how good they look, she said. I didn't get it, and the other girls started chiming in, and Heather just said, oh my god, calm down, I didn't mean anything wrong. I won't let OP ruin my wedding entirely, it's really okay. We all are going to start looking different in our 30s, etc. I was the oldest of all the girls there, and I kind of chuckled it away and said Heather was the one who gives me compliments on how much I still look young, and like I did when I did fashion modeling. Nothing big, just commercials and small local runways, as it was once my dream to be like on Victoria's Secret or whatever, lol. And she snorted something like, you can't do runway now and you know it. Okay, at this point I flat out asked her if she had something to say to me, and she said that since I'd been so sensitive about her asking me to do things, being a wedding planner, paying for the party, etc. For her wedding, she didn't want to bring it up, but she wanted me to change my look back to when you were so pretty like when we met. That meant going back to my natural light brown hair, losing weight, I'm 5'7" and 120 pounds, and wearing shapewear to fit in a smaller dress. Then she said, look at these lovely ladies, right? It would mean a lot to me if you could all shine up there. I said that was hurtful, and I liked how I looked now. I had lots of body issues, trying for that dream in my 20s and skipped meals, drank too much and worse, and hated my body. Now, I do have curves, and I love them. I offered to wear a wig for the wedding if my hair color was an issue, and she just got quiet and changed the subject. To keep from everyone watching me get upset, I just shook the wine bottle and laughed something about it getting empty, and saying I was going to the kitchen to get a fresh bottle. Heather was there after a couple of minutes and started saying, hey, you know I love you no matter how good you look, babe. And I just shot, but I looked tacky. And she shrugged and said that's why she didn't want to ask me. She knew I wouldn't focus on anything other than perceived slights. I handed her the new wine bottle to bring in, and I stepped outside to calm down. It's still on my mind. The wedding is this summer, and I'm kicking myself for being sensitive. It's messing with my head. Now I can't even dream of standing up in front of everyone. We all know in a bright dress. The maid of honor is in a different color and cut than the other bridesmaids. The way I am, but a part of me thinks I am letting her under my skin and should not worry about how I look. I don't want to be maid of honor regardless though. Would I be the arsehole if I stepped down? I don't even know what I would tell my brother. Sorry for the nerdy references, it's a coping mechanism. Opie edited the post and said, couple of FHQs and things I didn't think to add. Brother has a prenup. It wasn't really a trust thing, but he just figured it would be there for them to point at and rebuff the rumors that she is with him for money. And I am told she enthusiastically agreed. She does not have a full-time job. She works retail and does some theatre work at my job as an actor. She lives with her sister and sister's spouse in the city as she is in school. She took a few years gap from high school to college. Her sister is kind of how we met, as she is part of my gaming group. I do not work in software, nor do I make a lot of money compared to my brother. I'm single and live alone and make okay money in non-profit theatre to survive. Aaron and I don't have any other family. We've been each other's family after I came out as bisexual and our grandfather disowned me. Aaron went no contact out of support for me. We are also not biological siblings, as Aaron is adopted and I am a miracle baby. Our dad walked out when I was a kid and our mum passed away when I was a teen. And OP does give us a full update in a moment. Absolutely step down from this. She just seems like an absolutely awful person, saying all these awful comments to you. And then, you know, when you go to the kitchen and stuff, she comes in and says, oh, you know I love you, don't you? Like making you feel like you're being too sensitive about it, which you are absolutely not. She is awful. And, you know, I would certainly consider telling your brother about what she's been saying about you and to you. And that's pretty much the gist of OP's post, of the comments as well, that they're saying, you know, tell your brother that you're not being sensitive in the situation at all. She's just being absolutely awful. But OP comes in to update the post and says, I tried to write this update on my original post, but it got too long. So sorry, I'm a bit emotional. And at this point, tipsy, and shares the link to the post. I immediately got comments saying the similar thing, that I would be the arsehole to not tell my brother the truth. It was devastating, and I admit some of the comments were worded in a way that really hurt, but at the end of the day, I was asked if I was okay with Aaron marrying a person who will hurt him, and something in my brain clicked. I love my brother more than anything, and I realized now I was being spineless and selfish to not come to him with this. From the beginning of me being maid of honor, Heather monopolized my time. I can pinpoint exact moments I was slowly pushed out of regular contact with Aaron. If I was not working or doing my side gigs, all my time was on the phone with her or footing the bill at dinners and lunches with her over the wedding. Someone mentioned that she was trying to keep me and Aaron from spending time, and I realized they were right. Anytime I called him and she was there, he'd take the phone to talk wedding stuff, etc. I'd be so worn out at the end of my days I wouldn't even reply to texts. I feel so stupid. I was a coward and so afraid of losing my only family, I forgot to be family to him. And that's hard to even type, but it's true. Aaron called me early. Apparently a bridesmaid who was at my house the night I mentioned in my last post, Sophia, female 26, who is one of our good friends, apparently suggested he reach out to me. And when he asked why, she didn't say. I didn't realize, but I had been miserable since that party at my house. I didn't know how much I seemed off. It was brought to my attention how far out I seemed in public and how withdrawn I've been in general. Aaron called and asked if I was alright. I know the wedding is stressful, Heather has been a wreck, and I snapped and just started crying and hung up. He was at my place within the hour and I told him everything. I don't remember seeing him so mad in my life. I'm skipping a bunch to be brief. He asked me how much I spent on the wedding and I just handed him my phone with my bank app and the bridesmaid chat all open. And he scrolled and asked why I would not mention this to him. I explained and he shook his head. He wrapped me in a hug and told me not to worry and ordered us food. After he left, Sophia texted me and Aaron in a new group chat with the three of us as some recordings from when she was making TikToks and the like in various bridesmaids events, with Heather in the background and nothing more. I saw it indicated Aaron saw it, but he hasn't said anything yet other than, I will use a fake name for myself as I have the others. Francesca, turn off your phone if you can. I will drop by tonight. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb and I'm on my couch drinking and waiting. Quick random update. I'm a bottle of wine in, so forgive my dyslexia. I'm doom scrolling Reddit and Facebook and Heather has blocked me on Facebook through an app for my texts. I can see she's texted many times. I've opened nothing and won't until Aaron arrives. In the meantime, I am truly in good tears over your support and advice. I was never a strong person. That was our mum. But you and my friends make me feel strong and I cannot express my gratitude. I will update when I can, but maybe tomorrow as I am passing that line of tipsy into more than tipsy, lol. But seriously, thank you all so much. Another little update that says my Venmo popped up and Heather's sister Haley just sent me money. No description on it, just a bride emoji. Also, Aaron says he's on his way. As I'm on Facebook, I'm seeing more of the girls in the bridal party in different chats having issues with Heather. I am more of an Insta and Twitter gal, so never even saw it. I'm messaging them back now. Editing and to say, I'm trying to post the update but having issues. May have to make it 2 separate posts. OP's next post was called Background Info and said sorry for the long updates, shared a link again and says, Stardate the next morning. You'll encourage my nerdy side. Sorry, lol. Happy weekend everyone. I was shook at how much my notifications blew up more than the Death Star. Bear with me as I sort through everything because it's a lot. And I had a lot of wine last night and stress drinking and today I'm slightly paying for that, lol. I'm dyslexic, but will do my best here and try to take my time. First, some background that came up in the comments. Some of you called it, but yes, I suffer from an abusive relationship myself. He doesn't even deserve a nerdy fun name, so we'll just call him Jeff. Jeff was an emotionally and physically harmful to me and encouraged my dieting in my 20s, constantly calling me fat, etc. And that was him being nice. Whenever I tried to leave, he would either intimidate or gaslight me or both. The short of it is, Aaron finally figured out what was happening as I'd gone so low contact with him, and let's just say you wouldn't like Aaron when he's angry. Jeff is so far in my rear view, one would think he's a mirage. Also, I finally watched all the recordings Sophia sent Aaron and I. They were just snippets that she never posted due to lighting, noise or something being said that she didn't want on the internet, but with Heather somewhere in it or heard in the background. Not all of it was her hurling insults at me, as some are from outings I could not attend, and she put down others. I mentioned before Sophia is close to both Aaron and I, and we have sibling-like love for one another, and also that Sophia is gay. One video is just Sophia holding her phone down as Heather explains why Sophia's girlfriend can't be in the wedding. You guessed it, Heather checked the homophobe box. She just hit big at bingo. I am so embarrassed I ever thought she was my friend. Many other videos were Heather's put downs to me. Sophia even managed to get the tacky convo from the point after Heather called me tacky the first time on. There is so much more to add, and I will put another update on what happened last night. So that update says, on to what happened. By the time Aaron got back to my place, I was less tipsy and more wine drunk. He looked at me and said I needed to lay off the celestial absinthe. D&D joke. He looked exhausted. I apologized as I felt I had imploded his life and he snapped at me something like, "Don't you dare apologize for telling me the truth ever," and went on about how hurt he was I never told him about any of it. I apologized and he reminded me of Jeff and how bad things could have gone if he hadn't figured out what Jeff was doing to me. I suffered in silence and things could have been escalated and he could have lost me. I am all he has and he would never have forgiven me or himself. I told him he was right and from now on no lies and no secrets between us. He made me pinky swear like we did when we were kids. He then told me what happened. He got to his house and listened to every single one of the recordings. He sent himself items and screenshots from my phone, including all the payments he could find of what I spent and calculated it. He wrote me a check and the total is staggering. I don't know if everyone is like this, but sometimes it is hard to keep a running tally on a specific expense over time, if you just spend a little here and a little there over a year. Let's just say the check will replenish my lost savings and then some. He then called Heather over the guise of wanting to have dinner with her. When she arrived, he was sitting in his living room and acting casual. He was recording the whole conversation on his computer nearby, where he teaches tech, so the audio was perfect when he played it back to me, except for when Heather was moving about his house, doing things here and there in other rooms as she talked to him, but he stayed on the couch by the desk. He was casual and asked about the wedding planning. She lamented how much there was to do, but how excited she was. He asked about me. How is Francesca doing? I haven't been able to catch up with her. And Heather said something about how she is trying to coach me on being a maid of honor, but that it's fine, and she just wants him to be happy and have his adoptive sister in the wedding. Aaron and I never use the word adoptive. He is simply my brother, adopted or not. I never knew she used that term when I wasn't around. I can't quite pin it down as to why. There's nothing wrong with him being adopted or anything, but it just didn't sit well with me. He kept it chill, asking her questions he already knew the answers to, and she clearly would lie to him. He brought up the money and maybe he should contribute since he does make more and he doesn't mind. That's when the big lies happened. She claims to have worked many shifts and saving a lot of money and the like to pay for her half. And she blamed me on the super expensive bridesmaids dresses, claiming I made a big deal about not looking my best in the much more affordable dresses she had wanted, etc. But made it out like she compromised by yielding to what I wanted, even though it was more expensive. I'm making this really short, but she made me out to be this diva, how I must talk him into buying me expensive things. And that the bachelorette was going to be her biggest expense because I'm a city girl and would not stand for a small dinner, which is what Heather wanted. Absolute Wookie poo-poo, but whatever. Aaron toyed around a little longer before saying, "Hey, you should come listen to this." I started playing some of the videos. You can hear Heather saying things like, "Who is that? That sounds like me, but that's not me." But he kept playing them until she just goes, "What is this about?" He said he knew the truth and is given her the chance to tell him the truth. She pretended she didn't know what he meant, and Aaron just said, "Allow me to be very clear. I know you've been lying to me, so tell me the truth." She started crying and asked him why he's doing this to her, and asked what she did to deserve this, and he got angry. He stated lying wasn't even the worst, but how he treated me, his sister, and Heather's supposed friend. A lot was said between them, but he never raised his voice, and at one point, she was screaming and he said, "I won't even speak to you if you're just going to yell." They argued more and he told her to get out and that the wedding is off. He said he expects her to pay me and him back for all the expenses, or he will bring her to court. And as she was crying, he called her sister Haley to tell her that Heather is on her way back home and laid out everything. Haley knew exactly why they were calling it off. The recording ends there, but according to Aaron, he put Heather's things in her sister's car for her. Yes, I am pettily specific about Heather not owning a car, and locked her out. And she stayed at the door crying for a minute and left. Aaron says he took a moment to cool down when the drama started back up. Out of all the bridesmaids, only one was singularly Heather's and not a mutual friend of ours or a friend of mine or Aaron's. Kim hated me at the very beginning because she is Heather's true best friend. And she should have been the maid of honor, but made up some crap that I threw a fit I wasn't important in the wedding, so long-suffering Heather bent a knee and made me maid of honor. Kim called Aaron and yelled at him that Heather is at her house heartbroken and depressed because the other girls lied to him to make her look bad. Heather is willing to forgive him and take him back, but he needs to acknowledge the truth. She said Heather would only get mean to defend herself from us ganging up on her, and that Kim witnessed it firsthand. She told him I was the worst one and would make snide remarks to Heather about taking my brother away from me and how now I was alone and had no one. She implied something else that I won't repeat here because it's disgusting. But Luke and Space Mum, if you know, you know. Then she dropped that Heather is also pregnant and the stress cannot be good for her or the baby. Aaron said that he was almost considering talking to Heather and seeing things from her perspective because he was dumb and he did think he had loved her. But it was the last parts that snapped him out of it. He said if Heather perceived she was being attacked, he almost felt bad. He also knew me well enough to know that I am far too non-confrontational. Then wham, baby. He told Kim that it's not possible as Heather's rule was no intercourse until marriage, and he respected that, but now Kim and Heather are claiming that he was drunk one night and he and Heather did the deed and must not remember as he was practically passed out for most of it. Which I won't begin to even touch that here, but I've never felt more angry in my life. Aaron doubts this as he has never been so drunk. He would forget things, and on top of that, why would she keep it a secret from him after the fact? More to it, but those are the cliff notes. It was late and Sophia couldn't come over, so we FaceTimed her to thank her. She and her girlfriend were eager to hear what happened, and Aaron told the whole thing over again, and Sophia's girlfriend, Letty, told Aaron to immediately demand a medical confirmation of pregnancy and a paternity test as well, as Heather pinned down the when and where. She reminded Aaron that he has cameras all over his home and in the main room, so this can easily be disproven. But to also tread carefully because she can see a mile away that if Aaron refuses to be conned by that Medusa-ass homeworld or wannabe, she will try to spin it, making him an aggressor. She is pre-law and her dad's an attorney, so Aaron will call him today, and will speak to Heather only through his attorney going forward. We also opened some of Heather's texts to me together and screenshot each one, but I was sleepy because of the wine and fell asleep. When I woke up, Aaron was on my tablet still reading and screenshotting and he seemed oddly chipper. I asked what's up, and he informed me that Heather's sister Haley reached out and she'll be going to the doctor with Heather to see if Heather is really pregnant. Haley is doubtful, as she never mentioned it, nor has Haley noticed any signs. It seems Haley is on her side and over her shit. He also wants to thank Sophia and the other bridesmaids for helping us, and is thinking about keeping the venue and just having a party in place of the wedding, but he isn't sure. Honestly, I don't think he slept and looks awful, so I cancelled all my plans and going to make sure he rests and takes care of himself. Nothing has been decided, but he now sees how manipulative Heather can be. I know he is heartbroken, but he's putting on a face for everyone. I know far too well eventually he will need to mourn the relationship, and I am determined to be here when he does. I think that's everything for now. I wanted to share with everyone who has been so supportive of us, even if it meant kicking me in the pants to get me to be honest with my brother. My fellow browncoats and rebels, thanks for helping me feel a part of the broader nerddom. It feels awesome. Oh, dearie me. I can't help but feel that's not the end of this story from sister-in-law. She just sounds like someone who's going to keep coming back time and time again. Also, not particularly smart for some of the stuff that she's admitted in this update as well. I hope brother continues to keep documenting everything he's receiving from her, but what do you guys make of this one? I love the nerdy stuff that OP keeps adding into their post. It did make my day. But what do you guys make of this situation? What would you advise to the OP? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And our next story comes from In My Feelings But I Don't Know, and says, am I the arsehole for refusing to pay a friend who paid for my wedding dress? Hey Reddit, I was looking to buy this dress from a brand in New York City. Because I'm not based there, the only option was to go through a retailer where I'm based at, and that would cost 2.4k, excluding alterations. I found a listing from Still White, and it was the exact dress I wanted in my size and brand new. The previous owner had cancelled her wedding for $900. Just to clarify, Still White is like a wedding dress marketplace, if you like. Anyway, we continue. My longtime friend from school, Serena, who happened to be in New York at the time, agreed to pick it up for me and bring it back with her to where I'm based, where she's also from. I was really grateful and happy, and I was even intending to gift her $100 on top of the Uber rides to and from the place. I said I would reimburse it as a token of my appreciation. However, my joy turned to shock, horror, dismay, and disbelief when I saw Serena's Instagram story, showcasing her trying on my wedding dress. I called her out for it, telling her I wasn't happy she not only tried it on without my permission, but posted it for the public to see. She didn't take it down even after a conversation we had about this. To make matters worse, she admitted she collected the dress posing as me. For an email bill later, I noticed that the dress had also been altered. What the fuck? On the spot. All without my knowledge or consent. When confronted, Serena nonchalantly stated that it was her one chance to try on a wedding gown, and insisted I should get over it and reimburse her the $900 she paid for the dress. My wedding dress experience was entirely hijacked. I'm now hesitant to pay her back. This all happened yesterday, and she reached out today to ask for the money back and told me to get over it because she needs to make a big purchase tomorrow and it would help her cash flow. Since she wants it so bad, she can now have it. Am I the arsehole? Someone did ask OP, they said what kind of alterations can be done on the spot. OP says it was a waist alteration. For context, this bridal shop has a seamstress in-house, and for dresses to board off the rack they offer an on-the-spot alterations unless it is significant. In this case, it was the waist. Now, I'm not quite sure where the updates are going to go on this one, but it's just one of those stories where I'm trying to put myself in that position. She's picking up this dress and she just feels the need to pose as you and try it on. And I'm thinking, what is going through your mind? And then to put the pictures on social media as well. Oh, dearie me. The dress is technically second hand now as she's tried it on. She altered it as well. I don't know if I'm making this sound more dramatic than it needs to be, but I certainly wouldn't want to be taking that dress now. How do you feel about that one? But Bop says, not the arsehole. She had it altered. Wow, it's officially her dress now. Lucky her. Her one chance to try on a wedding gown is now her lifetime of owning a wedding gown. She can try it on whenever she wants. Next commenter says, "Not the arsehole, you need a new dress and that woman is not your friend. She wants to be in the spot and use your wedding dress to get views. Uninvite her now or she'll be the one in a blush pink lace dress at your wedding. Now if she has it in writing that you said you'd pay for the dress, she can try and sue you. Now you can try and counter-sue due to her getting the dress altered to her without your permission, possibly causing more financial problems with any future alterations. I wouldn't pay my friend for ruining the surprise of my wedding dress that I was excited I found. I would have to take some time before I hunt for one again just to make sure there is no sour taste left in my mouth after this experience." Ferrara says, "As a bride who is keeping a keen eagle eye on Still White, I had to pick myself up from the floor after reading this. She had it altered. What the actual fuck? Nah, that's hers. She always wanted to try on a wedding dress. Well, lucky her, now she owns one and can try it on anytime she wants." Let's have one final comment from Sparkly Sherbet 151 who says, "Not the arsehole, I can't believe she had some alterations made so your dress fitted her properly. That's seriously messed up. The entitlement of the situation, and she doesn't even understand what she has done. Well, her one chance to try on a wedding gown has turned into one chance to own a wedding gown because she's ruined it. Don't give her any money. She needs to learn that she can't treat friends like that." So OP did come in with her update and said, "First of all, thank you everyone for being so empathetic and indignant on my behalf. I don't feel crazy anymore. When I saw her post, I completely lost it. I cried so pathetically. I know everyone must be wondering why I'm even friends with Serena and how that reflects on me as a person too. Serena and I go a long way back. I've always known Serena is a shitty friend, but I still kept her around because of her mental health struggles. I was the only friend connected to her family, so if anything, I would have been the one to sound the alarm. I don't think I could have lived with the guilt if anything really happened to Serena. But well, I guess my job is done because Serena's audacity tells me she's in a much better place. Good for her. Moving forward. I don't have the dress on hand yet because it's still in New York with her. She's coming back to where we're based February 24th. I agree that she was doing me a favor, and for that I think I will still pay her for the dress. After all, it is $900, but with the following terms. 1. I will only pay her upon receipt of the dress. The trust is completely broken. I don't know what else she might do to the dress. Sleep in it? I unfortunately need this leverage over her until I have it in my hands. Else she has no incentive to keep her hands off of it. For all I know, she chucked it in a dusty storage to spite me. 2. I will pay her for the $900 minus the cost of dry cleaning and alterations. It's like borrowing a friend's clothing and not washing it before returning it. Did I mention she also tried it after a Pilates class without showering? Lol. I think this arrangement is fair and I would not owe her anything. 3. I will end this friendship. To be honest, I think if Serena and I met as adults, we wouldn't be friends. The friendship has ran its course, and I think I did the best I could in this. She for real said I'm pulling an Anna Sorokin on her. Serena called me a con artist and isn't even sorry that she rained all over my parade. Friend? Human? 4. She's uninvited. Need I say more? Then Opie adds a second update which says, Serena had actually told me there was lipstick stains on the dress and offered to buy a stain pen. Later I found out from the shop owner that the stains were actually caused by Serena. So Serena not only lied blatantly but tried to cover up her vile behaviour by coming across as helpful. I have since reverted to Serena and gave her 2 options. 1. Sell it to me at half the cost to cover alterations and dry cleaning. 2. Sell it to someone else. She chose option 2 and showed no true remorse. End of story and friendship. Shout out to my friends and Reddit community. Happy holidays everyone. And many people after this one were saying there should have been no options on the table. You shouldn't have paid her anything. OP should never have offered to pay her anything for that dress. And basically the best outcome come from this. You're no longer friends with that person, you know, and you haven't got a dress which someone else has tried on, got lipstick over. There's a little part of me thinking that she's still going to return with this dress and expect OP to buy it when she can't sell it for whatever reason. But what do you guys make of this situation? What would you do in OP's position? I really hope OP does go on to find their dream dress, of course, but let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. And our next story does have an update as well from the Am I Wrong subreddit from Tasty Bandicoot 7567, and says, "Am I wrong for kissing another man under mistletoe, despite my boyfriend telling me it was okay? It's really late where I live. Everyone I could contact for advice is asleep, so I'm here instead. I'm completely freaking out over this, so apologies if there are grammar mistakes. Also, this is a burner account. My friends know my other one. My boyfriend Nick, male 29, and I, female 26, went to a Christmas party his cousin was hosting. His cousin is really into community get-togethers, so a lot of their neighbors were there, as well as some family members of theirs. Someone brought a piece of mistletoe and was going around the party getting people to kiss. Towards the end of the night, I was sitting on one of the sofas talking to their family friend, John, male 37. I've met him quite a few times before, so we were chatting for a while and just joking around. Nick was by the kitchen part of the room talking to his cousins and some childhood friends. The house is open plan, so their living room, dining room and kitchen is all one big room. At this point, a neighbor I'm not too familiar with came over with a mistletoe for John and I to kiss under. I understood that this neighbor didn't know me or that I'm with Nick, so I laughed it off and said I'll skip my turn. This neighbor seemed drunk and was being loud, insisting that it's a tradition, that we had to do it and all that kind of stuff. John went to move away when Nick and one of his friends noticed the commotion and joined in. I think Nick saw it as a joke and hence found it funny to join in, encouraging John and I to kiss. I told him, as in Nick, why doesn't he get over here and I kiss him instead? But Nick kept insisting that I give John a kiss. It was extremely awkward for the both of us. John kept trying to change the topic and even got up to leave, but Nick seemed serious about it as his tone changed from being jokey to serious. I said to John that I don't mind kissing the side of his mouth/cheek, and he said as long as it's okay with everyone, and if it make them shut up then fine. And so I kissed him by the corner of his mouth, and that was it. Everyone dispersed and Nick didn't seem bothered about it and even cheered before going back to his cousins. While driving home, Nick was quiet, so I asked him what was wrong. He said that he didn't think I would actually kiss John and that it left a bad feeling in his gut. I said that I only did it because he was encouraging it. It seemed like he didn't mind the kiss considering the circumstances, and because I thought it was in good fun. This led to a big fight that I won't go into, but it ended in Nick saying that he was thinking about proposing to me on Christmas, but that this put things into perspective for him. I'm sleeping on the couch for the night and feel absolutely terrible. Please let me know if I'm being a complete jackass. So a comment which OP replied to, C Attitude says, alcohol changes all perspectives. He put you in the spot. You didn't want any part of it. It wasn't like he laid a big French kiss. Remind him it was under his insistence that you did. Him being an asshat has made you put things in perspective too, not the arsehole. OP says, just to quickly clarify who was drinking. Had a few cocktails but wasn't completely drunk. If anything, I was just a bit tipsy, so I sobered up immediately when we started arguing. I know John had at least one drink while we were talking. I don't know how many he had before that point. And Nick was driving, so he didn't drink any alcohol. And we're starting the comments with Shantsu, who says, it does put things into perspective. Nick's a wanker. Bloody hell, he can't tell you to do something, practically force you by the sounds of it, and then blame you. And why the heck are you on the couch? I hate every part of this story. I really don't like Nick. Fangirl Queen 69 says in quotes, I told him, as in Nick, why don't he get over here and I kiss him instead, but Nick kept insisting that I give John a kiss. And then says, this is where I say you are not wrong. You literally offered to kiss your boyfriend instead and he turned you down and told you to kiss John instead. What did he expect to happen? You said no. You volunteered your boyfriend in John's place and he still kept insisting you kiss John. I've heard of testing people in a relationship, which is wrong, but this is a whole different level. Next commenter says in quotes, I told him, as in Nick, why doesn't he get over here and I'll give him a kiss instead, but Nick kept insisting that I give John a kiss and says, I mean, you didn't want to. He pushed you into doing something you didn't want to do and now he's mad at you. If someone's willing to cancel a proposal over you doing something he told you to do, it sounds like you dodged a bullet. Hell, why even tell you he was thinking about it other than to make you feel worse? I bet he was as serious about the proposal as he was about encouraging the kiss. From Sheila Monarch, who says, "Oh, I see it. This was a setup. And this is the thing he's going to hold over your head to get you to turn over control, privacy and freedom that you otherwise might not. Now you'll be desperate to prove yourself at every turn. Don't fall for this gambit. Stand your ground and shrug off his pissiness about it. Adults have to use the words they mean. Not your fault he didn't." Win Accomplished says he wasn't thinking about proposing to you. He's being a complete arsehat. He basically pressured you into it. What the fuck was he expecting you to do after continuously pressuring you? In fact, if I were in your shoes, I'd tell him that his behavior put things in perspective and pack my shit and leave. I don't stand for manipulation of any kind. I don't even care Bear says he wasn't going to propose. He's emotionally abusing you hard. Look it up because I know people throw these terms around often. I said around these often because it is that common. But him forcing you to go along with and laughing and being fine in public, then silent and picking the fight over it, then throwing out there how he's about to propose but now doesn't trust you to do it, and gave you attitude into feeling guilty and sleeping on the couch. He doesn't love you and he's fucking with you. If he was going to genuinely propose because he loves you, this wouldn't have happened like this at all. And last comment from Joranot Smith, who says, "I'm sorry, but Nick is a manipulative piece of shit. He definitely knows what he is doing by testing the love you both have. Yes, I know for sure that there was no engagement that was going to happen anytime. Nick is a manipulative person. For all we know, he might be the cheat in this relationship and just want to have a ground when it becomes an issue." So OP comes back in the new year and says, "Hi everyone and happy new year. I just wanted to give a quick update and thank everyone who commented on my first post. I really appreciate those who gave their perspective, and while it was completely overwhelming, it definitely opened my eyes. I tried talking things out with Nick in the hopes of getting some answers, but every time we talked, it ended in an argument. I tried asking if I could see the engagement ring, why he encouraged me to kiss John, and why he wouldn't kiss me instead when I suggested that at the party. But every time I asked, it would blow up into this big fight about me not trusting him. This was his excuse for not showing me the ring, or accuse me of trying to drag out the situation more than it needed to be. To cut a long story short, we broke up Christmas Eve. I went to spend the holidays with my mum and I'm currently staying at hers while I try to sort through this. I wasn't going to make an update about this, but yesterday John texted me. For context, usually a lot of Nick's family and friends go to a specific New Year's party in our town, which I didn't attend this year for obvious reasons. John said he was hoping to talk to me about this there, but that when he went, he found out about Nick and I breaking up, so he decided to text me instead. Anyways, John apologized for letting the mistletoe thing escalate to the point that we kissed. I also apologized in case I made him feel uncomfortable, and said it was a shitty situation for both of us to be in. John said that the reason he was hesitant to walk away while the others were pressuring us was because, according to him, it was very obvious that I was drunk. John didn't want to leave me alone with them in case one of them stepped in to try and kiss me instead. He also feared that they would take it further, considering they clearly didn't see any issue in the fact that I was drunk. I thanked them for looking out for me, and to be honest, I had no idea that I was that drunk, which is embarrassing to say the least. Also, what I didn't know until yesterday was that after the kiss, John pulled Nick aside and confronted him. Nick never mentioned this to me. John said he basically berated Nick for encouraging that kind of behavior and for not protecting me. I'm honestly shocked Nick never mentioned this to me. It kind of makes sense if he felt embarrassed by John confronting him. I should also add that John apologized in case that was why Nick was annoyed at me after the party. That's it, but thank you all once again. I'm still not over any of this and I'm very tearful by how everything went down, but I'm so extremely grateful for the support I found on here. Seriously, I cannot thank you all enough for your insight. Livid Parfait says to OP in this one, if John knew you were that drunk, why did he kiss you knowing you had a boyfriend? Why not just stomp the whole thing down and not kiss you? Why did he confront Nick? If he had not kissed you, no need for a beatdown. This must have not been a peck on the lips, but a full-blown kiss. I do not give alcohol on a pass on a reason for anything. Couples should keep their shit together at parties. This is the classic case of two wrongs do not make it right. OP says, I mentioned in my original post that it was a kiss on the cheek, and for full transparency and fair judgment, I said I got the corner of his mouth too. It was not a full-blown kiss on the lips. Also, just to clarify now, it was a peck and did not linger or anything like that. I didn't realize I should have reiterated that in my update. That's on me. Sorry about that. And a lot of people saying that the breakup was the right solution in this situation, questioning if there was ever going to be a proposal at all. What do you guys make of this one? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below.
Man, I remember being so naive when life was good, weather and palm trees. Back in the day, you were everything I need. But then along came a time when you crushed my dreams. Oh yeah, you played me like a fool when you made me believe that the line between love wasn't thick enough to read. Oh yeah, you see we in despair, crime everywhere. You're selling false hope cause you just don't care. Nah, you just don't care. Nah, you just don't.